2 years because you can't prosecute them properly. Is that good governance and good regulation? Because to me, it doesn't look like it.
talkSPORT Sports Update with NordVPN. Encrypt your internet connection and protect your devices from malware and hackers with our most advanced VPN.
With your headlines, it's just coming up to 11 a.m. I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Liverpool's 1 minute past 10. I'm sorry, I've given you a full hour ahead. Liverpool's Cody Gakpo could still go to Spurs. We're told Bradley Barcolla's potential Anfield arrival would help.
So it could be that Liverpool are now willing to cash in on Gakpo in order to facilitate this move for Bradley Barcola. I think in an ideal world, they want 2 more forward players before sanctioning the sale of Cody Gakpo.
Our chief football correspondent Alex Crook calls reports Man City could sign Gakpo. Unlikely, but we can expect another City bid for Chelsea's one-to-away Enzo Fernandez. Founder of Chelsea Fan TV, Alex Harris, says it was only Fulham fans booing Enzo last night.
I mean, he did come over, but he just sort of stood there and didn't really clap, and then he walked away on his own. I'm really upset that he's still pushing for a move. At this point, it gets to the stage where it's like, come on, it's just disrespectful.
Meanwhile, Xabi Alonso's calling on Joao Pedro, Cole Palmer and Morgan Rogers to lead and inspire from the front. They all scored in Chelsea's win at Fulham. talkSPORT's Danny Murphy expects Fulham to sign another striker, but was impressed with Josh King and Oscar Bob.
Both evolving, both looking comfortable, both look sharp, both look like impactful in the game, and that's the biggest plus for Fulham to me.
There's more from Danny on the talkSPORT Daily podcast. Now, Graham Dott's been removed from World Snooker's Hall of Fame. It's after he was found guilty of child sex abuse. And cricket journalist Cam Ponsonby's told us in isolation, Bryden Cast getting arrested and de-arrested outside a nightclub is a non-story.
Some lads have gone out and they got in so much trouble, someone got de-arrested and they went home.
Yeah.
But it's so boring now. Yeah. The main question I have, as someone who's probably like the same age as these lads, is like, why can't they just end up going on a normal night out?
Cast has been dropped by England. Joe Root speaking to the media this lunchtime, but he can't wait for that. There's more on talkSPORT's Following On podcast.
talkSPORT News.
A British reporter's managed to board a small migrant boat to the UK, exposing border force chaos. And police claim young people are baiting them with dangerous driving. Amelia's back at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 600 centres across the UK, most of which open 7 days a week, we're always there when you need us. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
Some breaking news. Tottenham Hotspur, it's reported, have signed Savinho from Man City. More on this in the show coming up with Jim and Simon. And the weather dry, most of us sunny spells, feeling warm in that sunshine. Few showers about, mostly in the southwest.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT, Visit Victoria could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for 2 to watch the 150th anniversary test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. So Chelsea off and running, beating Fulham. Does anything less than a title challenge equal failure this season? Or is top 4 simply enough? Meanwhile, more boycott threats and backlash for Infantino. But is it sometimes better the devil you know? Also today, we bring you the very latest transfer news. How do you prove if a player has deceived a referee? Is Match of the Day still an institution? And should the UK still aspire to host a World Cup? It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
You look a wee bit out of breath and a little bit red-faced. Now, I'm not being critical in any way because you walk,
Fit as a fiddle.
You're as fit as a fiddle, but you walk down from Waterloo Station every morning these days, don't you?
I do. I like to get in my additional steps.
Yeah.
I've got an obsession, an OCD compulsion to get as many steps in as I possibly can to try and beat my last year's total of 6.2 million steps. Look, I've got to get out more.
What's the daily breakdown?
It's 15,912 steps.
To be precise.
I have to. It's like an OCD with me. It's like I've got too much free time on my hands. I need to go and do something. I need to go and build a business, fail again, and build another one.
No, you're being a bit hard on yourself. Simon, good morning to you. A lot to get through this morning. In the last few moments, it's been confirmed Tottenham Hotspur have signed Savinho from Manchester City. 75 million pounds. There was talk of Marmoush as well. So, I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
This is the new Tottenham, isn't it? Daniel Levy's away. They're spending like drunken sailors.
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, the challenges that they've had over the last 2 seasons, both under Daniel's tenure and under their own direction of travel, have been very difficult for them. Now, whether spending 400 million, if that's what they get to, or net 250 million is a solution, we can all spend lots of money. It's about buying well. And these players being bought from other sides that you're trying to emulate is always a curious phenomenon for me. I know that you can get jigsaw puzzles that work better in different spaces, but if Savinho can't do it for a rival, why can he do it for you? I mean, he's a good player, don't doubt it. For £75 million, he should be.
10 million add-ons. £85 million deal.
Yeah, I mean obviously what the add-ons are may well be indexed to something significant for Tottenham, which means that it's worth its weight in terms. And when we hear about £85 million footballers now, I don't think we have the sharp intake of breath that we might have had a few years ago. It's de rigueur now. Players are being bought left, right and centre for that kind of money. And so when we talk about the spend patterns and what might have been spent a few years ago, the market is really different. And it's now, for the clubs that have the ability to spend, there appears to be no barrier that they won't cross economically, or however the economic value of a player really stacks up in terms of their performance. You're getting really mediocre players going for 50, 60 million quid. I mean, with due respect to my old team, Palace, I know he's scored some goals since he's been there, but there's no parallel universe where I'd pay £50 million for Strand Larson. But that is the marketplace for a centre forward. It's the going rate.
You would be pulling your hair out literally now, dealing with agents.
Well, you would and you wouldn't you?
Because for deals like Savinho, £85 million deal. You would be going nuts.
But you would and you wouldn't. I mean, really, wouldn't you? Because the scale of the circumstances have massively evolved. So when we got promoted, the bonus for going in the Premier League was 22 million quid. That's what you got. We're getting promoted in 2004. It's now 110 million quid. So it's 5 times the multiple. So if you were prepared to spend 10, 11, 12 million pound on a footballer in 2004, you'd be prepared to spend 60 million pound now.
Sure.
Because it's the comparative nature of how the industry's grown.
Yeah.
The agents are what they are. You kind of have to be, when you're in Rome, you have to be a Roman, I suppose.
10 million add-ons. I mean, many people
but that's fine.
Look at that and they think, what is that 10 million? What is that made up of?
Well, it could be made up of Champions League football. I mean, the add-ons will be kicked out to the selling club based upon Tottenham's achievements. So it could be based upon a certain amount of games that he plays for Tottenham, or it could be based upon a certain amount of achievements from Tottenham.
Yeah.
It has to be value added that gives some degree of A, opportunity for the selling club to actually get it, otherwise pie in the sky, and B, I mean, Tottenham are not silly, albeit they've proven that at times they are, that there must be some indexing to an achievement which generates revenue that merits the kind of expenditure Spurs are having themselves involved with.
I mean,
now.
Pre-Savinho, their spending doesn't exactly look as if it's helping them on the pitch. I know it was only game 1 at Brentford, but there was no reflection there that, watch Tottenham go this season.
There's no instantaneous gratification, but very rarely is there. I mean, we are in danger, and there's a really good reason for it, because we live in a society that wants instantaneous gratification, and football has a limited amount of time to, inside the game, it's always another game. Outside of it, you've got to have results now. If you're the media looking at football, one game is one bad game is a winter, one really good game is a summer, because that's the news cycle. Inside football, that mentality is, well, we lost that game, there's always another game, and eventually there isn't another game, and you run out of time and you run out of runway.
Yeah.
But I think that, I'm not a fan of De Zerbi's. I think his reputation is massively overinflated for his deeds. And I think he was able, and fair play to him, able to absolutely pull their pants down in a moment of great desperation from Tottenham to get themselves out of the car crash that they were about to experience.
Yeah.
And that has brought him into a situation where people start believing he's going to walk on water. We'll see. He'll be better, I suspect, than the circumstances that Thomas Frank found himself in. Because I think the ownership now has changed a little bit, maybe a little bit mature in terms of its cold-faced perspective, because when Daniel was asked to step out unceremoniously, in his mind, there was a new regime. I don't think the chief executive has much football now, so I think he might be a very good commercial operator, which he was brought in to be by Daniel, a lieutenant, not a general.
Yeah.
And I think that the Lewis clan have a different mentality about their relationship with the coaches and the players that they might have inherited. Now, with that in mind, it's now their baby. They're in control of it, as they always were. They've pulled different economic levers. They're not prepared to have the same conditions that they themselves imposed upon the business in conjunction with Daniel.
Yeah.
They don't want the salary restrictions that were potentially put upon them. They've changed that and maybe gone and renegotiated with the banks to be able to achieve a different outcome. They've made more capital available than they made for their previous chairman, and all of that. It gives somebody an opportunity, but what that opportunity looks like for Tottenham, I don't know. But I don't think it looks like the 17th in the league again. And the unfortunate thing for Tottenham is we get this game against Brentford where people can't help themselves. We're all guilty of it. You think of Brentford in your mind's eye, you think, oh, Tottenham might be all right in the first game of the season against Brentford. No, nobody's all right against Brentford.
No.
Brentford are a really good side, and you're going to have to be really, really good to beat them at their place.
Well, Keith Andrews messaged me back over the weekend. Lads were on it, and they were on it. And well done you, Keith. But Tottenham fans must be scratching their heads thinking, right, where is this going to take us? Because, Simon, it's got to take them somewhere better than 17th. It's as simple as that. But is this ownership now backing up their words with deeds? Are we actually now seeing the spending?
Yeah, of course.
That Tottenham fans, even yourself, were somewhat dubious as to whether or not we're going to see them spend.
I thought they would spend. I was delighted that they were going to put themselves in a cleft position because they were giving it a big one last year about what they were and what going to do and how the club was going to be different, and they did precisely nothing. So they put themselves in a cleft position.
Yeah.
They have made such a hullabaloo of what they're going to do and how they're going to do it and how it's going to be different from the previous regime which they were part of, and made such a big distinction between them and their previous mate, Daniel Levy, that I'm quite glad they put themselves in a cleft position, because nothing they've done so far tells me that they're running a particularly well-run football club. They brought in De Zerbi on a salary which is 3 times what he's worth. They got themselves in an almighty mess. They bought a group of players that might be the solution. They've spent a whole bag of money. Listen, any fool that's got money can spend money. I was a fool. I had money. I spent it. I know what a fool looks like at times. And you can spend money. It's not difficult to spend money. It's much more difficult to spend it wisely. Much more difficult to go and get a group of players. Now, people will use the example of the boy at Brentford, and Martin was using it yesterday as an example of money well spent, £39 million for a player. But I guarantee you stuck him in that Tottenham side, it'll look like what the Tottenham players look like currently, which is a player out of sorts.
Yeah.
It happens to be that he's in a well-oiled, cohesive unit. De Zerbi, will he have taken the paint off the walls? I don't know. Again, in terms of the performance, what was the thinking behind making Archie Gray the captain? I mean, I'm sure he has method to his madness.
Yeah.
He understands what he's doing. He knows the players. He sees the dressing room. He sees the culture. Surely he's an informed manager. He's either a good manager or he ain't. If he's a good manager, he must know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But Tottenham will get better. Tottenham will be better. But the man's had 5 competitive games in charge. A little bit of a pre-season disrupted by a significant amount of his players being out at World Cup. Not Tonali, I might add.
Yeah.
And he starts his season now with 1 bad result against Brentford.
Sure.
So we'll see. Who they got next?
I was mentioning that yesterday, was I not? And it's an intriguing one coming up this weekend. They've got Newcastle at home. But before we go any further, Spurs fans calling in numbers. I want to get the running total as to what they've spent so far, and we'll go through them bit by bit. Because the list of names is increasing by the day.
About 340 million euros.
Is it about 340 million?
If they buy Mamouche, it'll be 400 million euros. Then I think they've got a netting off about 100. They'll net out about 250 million. 260 million if they...
Well done, Simon. Well done. You're virtually spot on, Simon. They're at 310 at the moment. What is that, pounds or euros? Pounds. 310 million pounds they have spent. So this deal is going to shoot it forward towards 400 million. You're right, Simon. You're spot on. So Savinho's through the door, 75 million with 10 million add-ons, 85 million. Mamouche seems to be going to follow suit. Sooner than later, and probably they will not finish there. Alex Crook will tell us otherwise if he knows otherwise. But Lee's a big Tottenham fan. Lee, you're first of a number of Tottenham fans trying to come to air this morning to put your points to myself and Simon and join us live on air. What is your thought now? I mean, you're bound, are you not? Because of the spending that's going on and the recruitment that's taking place, you are bound to improve dramatically on 17th place, are you not?
Hello, lads. Yeah, we will improve. Simon just makes me laugh. And with his love affair with Daniel Levy, he just really makes me laugh. I think...
laughing a good way?
I'm here to amuse you.
No, I just think it's embarrassing, and I'm sure Simon and Daniel Levy must have gone on holiday together this year and shared a room because he's embarrassing. And
why is it embarrassing?
Because I think he should be the fifth member of the In-Betweeners.
Which one's the fifth one?
The fifth? No, you're the fifth one.
I know, but which one is the fifth one? If you're going to insult me, get me the details.
You're the fifth one. You're the fifth one.
I know you, Wally, but which one is the fifth one? Which characters? Oh, you're making a character for me. Got it.
Yeah, every time you mention Levy, they go.
Yeah, but you don't listen, do you? Because what you've got is your own preordained bias. What I keep on saying is that the ownership model that Daniel Levy worked within is the same ownership model that exists now. I don't care whether Daniel Levy's in charge of Tottenham Hotspur or not. I didn't always like Daniel when I was dealing with Tottenham back in the day when I owned Palace, but I've grown a healthy respect for him because I think he's a good operator. But you guys are listening to a new ownership model, which is not a new ownership model. It's the exact same. And the only point I keep making, while you guys keep on saying, "Oh, you're up Levy's backside," is that hang on, get some balance in your thoughts because you don't have any balance. That's all I do.
All right, let me finish then. Let me finish, yeah.
Go on, then.
All right. You're like, every time you mention him, it's like, oh, friends, Daniel Levy, oh,
special friends.
Right. That's you, Simon. Like, Simon.
Shut up. When do I do that? I just gave you context.
You absolutely are in love with him. You two must meet up and talk about how
he's not my type. He's too short.
How you failed as a Palace owner, and how he's failed, and how he's failed as a chairman. Won two of the worst trophies you could win in 25 years.
Yep.
That is embarrassing. You took your club down. You're awful. Your fans don't even like you, right? we are now spending. We are now spending.
Very personal, Lee.
I know that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Lee, if I wanted advice on how to empty my dustbins, I'd come to you. In the meantime, go on.
Hold on a minute. Simon, you called us all Muppets once. You called me a Muppet as a Tottenham fan. You said all Tottenham fans are Muppets. You said that once.
You're case in point. You're the poster boy for that. You're in my mind's eye. When I'm thinking of Muppets, I think of you.
Every week.
Come on, Lee. Without getting personal, finish your point. Are you not? Are you now super upbeat about the season ahead because of the spending you're witnessing?
Yeah, we are gonna be. I reckon, realistically, I'm a realistic Tottenham fan. We're gonna finish about mid-table, 10th, right? We're not gonna win anything, right? Because we're gonna. Not interested in success on the pitch. They're only interested in filling their pockets and using the Tottenham fans' loyalty for their club. They're just using them. That's what they're like. They're all rats, right? It'd be lovely to get an owners in that actually want to win success and give the Tottenham fans what they deserve.
Lee, thank you for the call.
I think
my God, that's got us off and running.
I think what they deserve is the championship.
Okay, well, Tottenham Hotspur have officially completed the signing of Savinho from Manchester City. The Brazilian winger has joined De Zerbi's squad after a deal worth up to £85 million. So now they're inching towards a £400 million spend altogether. Where are Tottenham fans with that? Certainly didn't translate at the weekend, did it not? When they went to Brentford and get thumped. Now they've got to do attempt to turn it around against Newcastle United this weekend. But what is your view now of what you are witnessing? And will it necessarily translate to success on the field? You might want to give us a call, as Lee just did, in his own inimitable way. 03717 2233 44.
We're due to talk about Spurs now. O'Hara was meant to be here, Jason Cundy, but apparently he's bottled his chance to plug your show. What? If you're not watching but listening, you've put on a Jamie O'Hara mask. Is that a new thing? I mean, that's quite horrific.
I don't know what it looks like. How does it look?
What do you think it looks like?
No, I can't see myself. Does it look like O'Hara?
Have a look at the monitor.
Every time I do that, I turn away.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it looks ghastly, and I never use that word. Yeah. Have you put it on before?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I've worn it before.
It's
so
vile.
weird. It's so weird.
Yeah. So do you want to pretend it's here?
I can pretend he's here.
Okay,
yeah.
let's
Shambles! Shambles!
Good team. Why is he not here? I heard he stormed out the studio again yesterday.
Last
He keeps
night,
storming out.
honestly.
Soon it's going to be more of a shot of his face.
I talk about Spurs.
Take the
with him,
mask
right?
off, for God's
That's-
sake. Yeah.
Honestly, when we talk...
Oh, put it back, put it back.
Put it on. I love getting into him about Spurs. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And he was saying if they buy Savinho and Mamouche, they're guaranteed top 4, top 2. And I'm like, come on, mate, come on. The Ange mask will come out, and that just grew legs and arms. The thing, and it just
Well, it's what you do.
exploded.
You got many more masks?
Loads, yeah.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT, visit Victoria. You could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for 2 to watch the 150th anniversary test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
Good morning, everybody. Lee, the Tottenham fans, got us off and running in a good way.
Hi, mate.
Why Tottenham? You're new.
Is that a good way, is it?
Yes, indeed. It was quite entertaining sitting here listening to that. We're talking Tottenham. We are going to be talking about Chelsea, but we'll get to Chelsea eventually because just as we came on air, it was confirmed. Savinho, the deal is done from Manchester City to Tottenham Hotspur. 85 million all round, £75 million fee, 10 million in add-ons, and now you begin to think, God, what are they doing? Tonali, 100 million. Mateo Fernandes, 85 million. Savinho, 85 million. Van Hecke, 52 million. Senesi, Robertson, freeze. And they're probably not done yet because the deadline doesn't come along until the beginning of next week. So Tottenham are spending and spending big. Of that, there is no doubt. But where's it going to take them? Are they going to improve in 17th? They better. Tottenham fans phoning in numbers. Simon, when you sit back and look at it, though, in view of what happened in Daniel's time, this is different. And as you rightly say, different to an extent, bearing in mind, it's the same people at the top. It's the same ownership.
Yeah, they obviously believe, and rightly so, that winning things will increase the worth of the football club. Because in the eyes of fans like Lee, football club owners should be as registered charities and just bankroll everything for the sole objective of what the fans want. You have to get a balance between what the fans want and what the money wants. Unfortunately, if you don't like that, then grow up, Lee, and find someone else to talk to. But of course, they're doing things differently, and it's a curious phenomenon as to why they're doing it. Maybe, as the fans allude to, maybe Daniel was a massive stumbling block. Maybe the way that he operated wasn't in the best interests of evolving the football club onto winning things.
Yeah.
Maybe the insight that the Lewis family developed after how long? 24 years of their ownership suddenly peaked after 23 years.
Yeah.
But they have changed. You can only judge Levy on the conditions that he was asked to work under. Now, whether he was the sole orchestrator of those conditions, I debate and I doubt, because the majority shareholders were always the ones in the room that didn't want to give the additional money that was required to allow the football club to buy at a different rate. Now, they've changed the rules of engagement. Now, if Levy was still there and they changed the rules of engagement, and he didn't spend the money that was available to him, then people could make this observation.
Okay.
But it's not really a fair comparison, and that's all I try to put into the conversation.
Of course you do. Some City fans make their own observations, no name in this one. As a City supporter, I cannot believe Spurs have spent so much on Savinho. He's endlessly frustrating, no end product, runs into dead ends, poor decision-making, lightweight, perfect for Spurs. Oliver, good morning. Big Spurs fan. What do you think of what you're witnessing in terms of spending, Oliver?
Hi, this is my first time ever ringing, so a little bit nervous, but I'll...
No problem, you're most welcome. What do you think, Oliver?
First thing I wanted to point out, I just listened to that last caller who got a bit personal with Simon there, and I won't be getting personal now, but I do want to point out that when Simon talks about leaving, he said earlier on in the summer about Van Hecke, about having our pants pulled down for him.
Yeah.
When he said that, I immediately thought of all the failed transfers we got because of Levy, because of the messing around, like Eze, like Hazard, Grealish, trying to get like the best deal.
You might be right. You might be right. It might be that the way to do business is to lose your sense and just pay what the odd buying club wants you to pay, because the competition will do that. So you might be right. You might be absolutely right. It's not the way I'd want to do business, and it's the way that some people do business, and it clearly wasn't the way that Daniel did business. But the consequence of it might be that you have to do bad deals to get better outcomes.
Do you back some of the people they're bringing in, Oliver? Some of the players they're getting?
Here, the Savinho deal, it's a lot of money. It's like we overpaid, but let's not pretend that Savinho extra money is really for Mamouche. And the Mamouche money is lower than his actual value.
Okay.
It's so that Man City can't pay. They've got a selling clause to Frankfurt, so that's on City.
Okay.
So really,
might be right.
Savinho is worth about 50 million, and we're going to get Mamouche for 50 million.
I see. Okay.
And Mamouche, you'd probably pay about 70, 75.
All right. Well, it's big numbers all the same, isn't it? Oliver, first caller or not, was a good one. Thank you. Steve's a Spurs fan. Steve, you want to have it out with Simon, do you?
Yeah. I just think all he ever does is have digs at Tottenham and stuff. But the transfers we've currently made this season, we could be looking at going down. We've finished 17th 2 seasons on the bounce. We've signed Savinho for 85 million. He's worth no more than 30 million. Tonali, why he left Newcastle to come to us, we're on the same power as him. He just wanted to get out of there. Our signings seem like desperate signings.
So I've said all those things, but you categorise that as me having a go at Tottenham. So because I'm not a Tottenham fan, I'm not allowed to say it. Because you are a Tottenham fan, you are allowed to say it.
But you always seem to just dig at Tottenham constantly. Even if we had won the league, you would have something.
No, I don't actually, because I grew up as Tottenham was my second team, and I was hugely admiring of people like Glenn Hoddle and people like that when they played at Tottenham. What I've had a dig at, if you actually listen to what I say, is the ownership. Is Joe Lewis, is Vinay, because I think Vinay is a treacherous hound, and I've had a dig at them. I've not had a dig at Tottenham Hotspur as a football club. I've never called you Spursy. I've never talked about things that people often use as a weapon to have a go at Spurs. I've never done any of that. I've just picked at the people that I think are deceitful and dishonest or duplicitous, not the football club. I've had a go at you fans a few times because I felt that the idea that you'd be celebrating Man City trying to beat Arsenal to win the league was a weak mentality, and your manager at the time, Ange Postecoglou, said the same thing. So I think what you guys do is you hear what you want to hear. You hear what you think is a characterisation of somebody. I have no view about Tottenham.
I think some of the people you're accusing inside the club of being duplicitous, dishonest. I think they push back on that.
They can push back as they want, but we saw Vinay. Hang on a second. We're the very people that played out the audio which said Vinay was blowing smoke up Daniel's backside in one video, and then we played a video next to it saying how everything was Daniel's fault. So
Steve, before you
make our minds up,
where's it going to take you this season? This spending, 400 million or so. Where's it going to take you?
So with the owners, Simon, do you think like they've done anything bad this season? They've given us all the funds.
I think they've got to put their money where their mouth is. Right? They've made a big noise. Yeah. They've told you guys what they're going to do. They've told you whose fault it was previously. They've told you that pretty much it was everything to do with Daniel Levy, who ultimately is their minority shareholder, and they put the person they put in position. So I think they've done what they should do. They've told you they're going to do it. They put you in a cart last year. They nearly got you relegated. And all the embarrassment that would have gone with that, and all the consequences of it. And so the least they can do with you guys is back up what they said they're going to do with some money, right?
Yeah, De Zerbi's a good manager. Whether he's there by the end of the season, I think if we have a slow start, which we will have, he'll be under pressure. I wouldn't be happy with mid-table with what we've spent. We've got to be challenging.
Well, he can't
for
have a
at least-
tantrum like he did at Brighton, can he? Because he's been given so much bloody money. He had a tantrum at Brighton. He went against Tony Bloom because he didn't get what he wanted after he lost a European game, and had a real go at the owner. And if you want one of the few owners you can have a go at, it's Tony Bloom. I mean, this man rebuilt Brighton. So he can't have a go at the Lewis family because, my God, they've given him more money. But he will if he doesn't get the outcomes he thinks he should get.
Steve, thanks for the call. So Tottenham in the market again, and they've added Savinho to their ranks. £75 million fee plus 10 million add-ons, 85 million quid. They're nudging towards a £400 million spend. What about Chelsea? Is anything less than a title challenge failure for Chelsea this season? We'll look at that next. It's 10:30, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Michael, where are you with Isak at this moment? I just think that particular penalty, Szoboszlai was always taking it, and likes of Isak had far more to lose than he had to gain by taking that penalty. But where are you with Isak at this moment in time? And he looks to me, he obviously had big injury problems and all that stuff. The move was well documented. You know, Newcastle fans are unhappy. What's it going to take for him to get playing with a regular confidence and show the ability that we know he has?
Well, I'm not sure about you, Ali, but I had plenty of injuries in my career, so I know how hard it is to get back, and you do need a bit of time. And everybody's given him time and understood that, but then he's sort of finished the season, then he's gone to the World Cup, and now he's had a pre-season, and you just think, okay, now we're starting to run out of excuses. We need to start seeing the real Isak, and we know how good he is. I mean, wow, we saw him for Newcastle. I mean, he's absolute class. But we haven't seen it for Liverpool just yet, and I think, you know, questions will come now. As I say, always give him the best.
talkSPORT News.
A very good morning. You're listening to talkSPORT. Here with the news headlines. I'm Amelia Beltrao. A British undercover reporter has become the first journalist to cross the English Channel in a migrant dinghy. Christian Drogan posed as a British criminal and met a smuggler through TikTok before spending 8 days in migrant camps in northern France and eventually making the journey. He claims many migrants don't pay cash up front to cross over to Britain in small boats, but are then tied to slave labour.
One guy, he's been living in Turkey, so not exactly fleeing war or persecution. He's been living in Turkey. He's met some guy who said, oh yeah, if you want to go to the UK, I'll pay for your ticket, but when you get to the UK, you've got to do some work for me.
The full investigation is being released exclusively today on Talk. A Home Office spokesperson said this individual's actions were reckless. Elsewhere today, young people are baiting police officers with dangerous driving, according to the Police Federation. It's in the wake of the A66 collision in which 7 people, including 2 officers, were killed. We're told 4 out of the 5 in the car had previous convictions. Cleveland police say 12 other people have been arrested over alleged criminality leading up to the incident. And a share of nearly £10 billion has been allocated to build more than 70,000 affordable homes. The cash is the first wave of funding from a £39 billion programme launched under Sir Keir Starmer last year.
talkSPORT Sports Headlines with Bostik. For professional grade ceilings with easy application and a perfect finish, pros trust Bostik.
Spurs signed Savinho from Manchester City for 75 million quid, and we're told Cody Gakpo could still go to Tottenham as well. Nick is more at 11.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT, Visit Victoria could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for 2 to watch the 150th anniversary test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
Good morning, everybody. Tuesday, August the 25th. Thanks for all the messages coming in. It's terrific stuff. It really is. This is what the show is about. Your involvement with us on a daily basis. And we're live on YouTube as always. You can watch the show as well as listen to it. Met a very nice Newcastle fan on my way into work this morning. His name will come back to me, but it was a good chat in the street. We enjoyed it. Rocco, Rakuten, Samsung TV Plus. Wherever you want to watch the show, you can watch it live. Prime Video. We're available on that. World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit will be joining us very shortly. We're going to talk about Infantino. If Emmanuel gets his way, Infantino will be out of there at the top of FIFA. And of course, we shall talk Arsenal. But let's talk Chelsea, because last night, Chelsea looked more than impressive, particularly Cole Palmer, when they went to Craven Cottage and beat Fulham by 3-2 in what was a frantic London derby. So what about Chelsea? Is anything less than a title challenge failure for them this season, or is top four simply enough? Xabi Alonso is the man in charge. This was him post-match.
Happy to play our first Premier League game of the season, my first official Premier League game with Chelsea. It felt great in this stadium with our fans at the end, and to celebrate with them. I think that I had the feeling before the kickoff that they were excited. They were hoping to see a good performance from the team, a serious one, one that they could see the team gave everything to fight for it. And I saw happy faces at the end, so it's important to create this bond. And early days, first day, good one.
Early days, first day, good win. And he's not wrong. Matt Law in the Telegraph, Simon, no more excuses. It is time for Chelsea to fight for the Premier League title this season. No more mediocrity. No more dampening expectations. No more promising a brighter future. Chelsea have to make themselves part of the conversation once more. It's time to talk about the title. You agree?
Well, yes and no, because Chelsea have been built, certainly by Roman Abramovich's tenure, and we know how some of that was built, to win things. And the new owners haven't bought a football club, I would suspect, for the most expensive price of anyone's ever paid for a football club in the history of football to not win things. But the assumption that it's just to go round past go and you operate in a vacuum and Man City and Arsenal and Liverpool don't count and it's just about what Chelsea do is the precinct of people that haven't actually ever run football clubs or ever been in businesses themselves, just written articles about them. Chelsea are a club that should be certainly competing to be a side that's capable of winning the league, whether they are in a position at this moment in time because the owners have tried to learn the ropes. Should they have learned them quicker? I saw some of the categorization about version 3.0, and these assumptions based upon little understanding. Had the owners turned around and said the first version was this, the second version was that, and the third version is something else. I don't think they've done any of that. I don't think they've said this is version 2 where we're going to do all about youth. This is version 3. I think you learn lessons. And do I think they should have learned lessons quicker? And do I think that they've spent inordinate amounts of money, their own money, and wasted inordinate amounts of money, their own money?
But you would say that's up to them at the same time.
Well, I would say it's up to them.
It's their money.
I would say that they, like so many things, you know, with football, it's who owns the football club in the great scheme of things. And really and truly, the fans will tell you that they own it. The owners will tell you that they own it. The players will tell you that they own it, and around and around we go. But the bottom line is that Chelsea is a club that has spent money with a desire to be successful and have made mistakes. And they've brought in an elite manager that a while ago, or what we perceived to be an elite manager because of what he did in Germany, albeit he couldn't find that gene opportunity, that germ of opportunity in Spain with Real Madrid. He'd been brought in an environment where the background noise was through sections of the media. No one wants to work for this ownership. No one wants to work for this club. Oh, okay, they got the most available, best manager around that everyone was apparently touting for the Liverpool job, or which other big job was coming up. But Chelsea got him. So they should be in a position. I saw similar things from Chelsea that I've seen previously. I mean, some of the defending from Chelsea last night was shocking. The second goal defending was absolutely embarrassing, from the fullback through to the goalkeeper, through to the inability to clear the ball and recognise the danger. It was shocking. But there were times that Is there a surprise that Chelsea, with the talent they've got on the field, I mean, the biggest thing was how many more debuts are they going to give players? I mean, every player that came in was making a Premier League debut, and the embarrassment of riches that they've got is beyond the pale. Although you look at the bench and you sometimes think, is there that much quality? There's a lot of names and a lot of money being spent, but how many game changers are there?
But I think it's hard. It's hard to disagree with Matt Law in the Telegraph in terms of his characterisation of it, Simon. He says first there was Todd Bowley's trolley dash. That's right.
Yeah, but that's his perception.
Then came Bedad Igbali's youth club.
Yeah, but that's right. That's what I'm just saying. No, hang on.
And now he's saying this summer the focus has been Premier League ready.
But
that's right.
But that's his perception. Okay, let's list the players they've built. Okay, because you can bring in Danny Welbeck and Jordan Henderson to support your argument. But what about the other 15 players that are all young players that are still in the same sort of mould as previously? And I don't recognise a lot of these names. I don't know if they're Premier League ready, so I don't know how he does. And the perception of, I mean, what a trolley dash, because a new owner comes in and wants to buy players and buying it for a football club that is a unique phenomenon. Who has ever bought a football club for £2.5 billion, a football club that was being sanctioned, virtually shut down by the establishment and by the governance because of its owner's relationship with war criminals? I mean, who's ever done that? And then walked in the door and had all the expectations of a club that was effectively mothballed for 6 months. And then there's a perception, because that's the way we do things. It was a trolley dash because he said, I bought a player that Man City wanted, and I use that as a reference point for why we should buy them. Which is, by the way, what they all do.
Yeah.
So when Liverpool were trying to buy Lavia or other players or Caicedo, they were also in a race with other football clubs. But because some plaid pant wearing American said it, we categorise it. And now because they went and bought some young players and tried to be clever in the system and tried to say that we put them on long-term contracts that overcome some of the ridiculous rules about amortization over periods of contracts, that was a youth policy. Well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a thought process that younger players are part and parcel of the energy of a side, and we've heard it previously from Alan Hansen. You don't win leagues with kids, and Man United duly went on and won the league in 91 or 93 or whatever it was. And here we are now with lessons being learned. And do they have to? Who do they have to appease? Who have they promised a bright future to? How have they not backed their words up?
Well, the fans.
But what you normally hear from owners is, I'm going to give you this, right, and give you all that, but never back it. You can't say about these guys that they haven't backed it. Now, they might have backed the wrong horse, and the fans might be against them because they'd rather have Roman Abramovich back, who was the ultimate, yeah. I mean, it might
irony of his. It might not have been their intent, Simon, but it certainly is the reality, because it was a bully trolley dash.
But why was it a
youth club?
But why was it a bully trolley dash? Because some journalist that's never actually run anything besides a pen can say it is. It's wonderful. It's wonderful wordsmanship. But I find myself always compelled to be in a position, and I find myself pigeonhole myself into defending people because it's so one-dimensional.
But Matt Law in the Telegraph would be the first to say, you're right, I haven't owned a football club, but I am a journalist.
Correct.
And what he's writing, it's difficult to imagine any Chelsea fan would disagree with. But no more dampening expectations. You're right, Matt.
You're representing
no more promising a brighter future.
But no one's
You're right, Matt.
But how can you spend £500 million a year on players and dampen people's ambitions? I mean, my God, most football clubs would bite your arm off at the elbow. They'd want to see it spent more wisely. Where is the dampening?
That's key. That's key.
You were the World Club champions, right? You won the European Conference League. You've spent hundreds of millions of pounds on players. You haven't dampened people's ambitions by your own ambitions. You've made bad decisions. Now, when you characterise it in a certain way, and what we do, and maybe I'm guilty of responding to you, is we represent people's opinions as facts. They're not facts. They're an opinion.
So, having spent £747 million in their first season, what is that if it's not a trolley dash?
Maybe it was needed. Maybe we talk about
almost £1 billion.
But we talk. I don't know if that's what they spent in the first season.
747 million.
Is that what they spent?
Mm-hmm.
And is that a fact? Is it? Well, I'll have a look myself in a second.
On players.
That's what they spent. Now, when we look at Roman Abramovich,
nothing to show for it.
True. When we look at Roman Abramovich, and he had something to show for it. Different time in football because there was no Man Cities, there was no Arsenals coming up on the rails. They were slightly in decline. Arsenal at the time that Chelsea did their trolley dash. The trolley dash that Roman Abramovich did in 2004 was 250 million quid, something around that level. I think it was maybe a little bit less than that. Now, inflate that up into current money. I bet you that into current monies, in terms of the distribution into the Premier League, because I just told you what the distribution was in 2024, in 2004. So in the league, in the time when Abramovich spent that, so it's all inflation based. So they spent a comparable amount. But the difference is, and the whipping that can be given to them, they didn't win.
They didn't win. That's right.
But they are trying to win.
So
when we write an article, when someone writes an article that's so smart arse because it knows all the answers, right? And it writes an article about judgment. Now you've got to win, and the only way you can overcome that is by winning it. And so that's what they've got to do.
Right. So on that topic, is anything less than a title challenge failure this season?
Well, it depends what title.
A serious title to be there or thereabout.
No, but they're not good enough.
Come May.
But then, are they going to beat Arsenal? Are Arsenal ahead of them?
They're still not good enough.
No, they're not a good enough side. They can't possibly be. It's taken 7 years for Mikel Arteta and hundreds of millions of pounds spent slightly differently and wisely because he's got a mature setup with different people in the confines of Arsenal that have got a better way of operating than some of the Chelsea people have achieved so far. It's taken them 7 years. How can we decide? How can you turn on a sixpence and say you should now win the league? Oh, it's bloody stupid.
So what, they won't be in the title race come April, May?
Well, they may well be in what is considered to be a title race, which is a group of sides competing to be really in the top four that might be keeping the league honest by making it look like it's not a runaway train for one particular team. They might be in that race.
Do you think Maresca and Manchester City will be in the title race?
I hope not. I hope he gets fired. But that's a different discussion. But the bottom line is that they might be, because they're the best team in the league, which is why it's all silly about, oh, don't say that, it's not theirs to win, right? Is Arsenal.
Do you think Iraola and Liverpool will be in the title race?
No, I think Arsenal are going to win the league, and I think they're going to win it at a stroll.
So who's it between?
Arsenal and Arsenal.
Should Liverpool and City be expected to be in the title race?
I hope, and we should hope for an interesting season that everybody in the higher echelons of the Premier League really push Arsenal.
So if they're expected to be in the title race, so should Chelsea. But
what position are they coming from? Chelsea are coming from 10th.
And what's that going to do with anything?
Because they were a mile off last year. Do you think they're just going to change?
Now it's
overnight?
the time, is it not?
For what?
Well, is top four good enough? Is that good enough for Chelsea fans out there?
No, it shouldn't be, because ambition should always mean that you want something you had previously. But when we talk about the pragmatic thinking and the realistic thinking, not the sensationalised red top tripe that we sometimes trot out, the real world of how do they get there? Is if Chelsea got on the top four list this season and made a good fist of it, would they owners and section of the fan base see it as progress? Well, of course they would. But when you judge it against overlying the previous standards, so by definition, Preston were one of the inaugural winners of the FA Cup, one of the best teams in English football, sitting in the Championship is an abject failure for Peter Ridsdale. But it's not. It's relative to the circumstance you find yourself in. And Chelsea at this moment in time are not the best team in the country. They might have spent like the best team in the country, but they haven't got the best team right now. And maybe Alonso, like Arteta, if he's given enough rope, might be able to build it.
Well, we'll take this further, because former Chelsea midfielder, former Arsenal midfielder, really, that's what we remember him for. Emmanuel Petit will join us live in the show very shortly. Stay with us.
He's got to start performing, but he's been injured. So we've got no reference point. We've got nothing to really say about what he did at Liverpool because he had no real run in the team. And if Liverpool aren't going to play in a way that suits the player that they've bought, which is get the ball to him, then I'm not entirely sure what you're supposed to do. What's he supposed to do? Put the ball up on the edge of his 18-yard box and run the length of the pitch, and someone's going to be happy with that? You're not Heung-min Song, is he? He's a centre forward. And so with due respect to it, I look at it and say, yeah, is he? The question for me is, big players would have embraced that opportunity yesterday and gone back to Newcastle and wanted to prove a point. So is he a big game player? Is he a big club player?
I think we saw that. We saw that in Newcastle.
Should he not have demanded the ball?
What big games has he been at Newcastle?
Well,
big club?
Okay, I take you back to the semi-final Arsenal League Cup. You can say, look, it's the first thing they've won in 52 years or whatever it was at the time. And Isak was, he was at boiling point. He was ruthless.
When you play for Liverpool, you're expected to win. You're expected to be a top player. When you're at Newcastle, people anticipate and hope and will you to be such. And they expect their club to do it. When you haven't won anything for 70 years,
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary Test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT, Visit Victoria could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for two to watch the 150th anniversary Test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
Good morning, everybody. It is, what is it? It's Tuesday morning. It's August the 25th, and it's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live in talkSPORT. With Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com. Very shortly, we're going to look at this backlash that continues for Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA, as football legends come together with a joint statement to declare enough is enough. And one football legend who certainly believes that joins us live in the show this morning. He is French World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit. Emmanuel, good morning to you and thank you for being with us. But let's start closer to home and then further down the line we'll talk about Infantino. Arsenal, your Arsenal, champions Arsenal. Is it their title to lose? What do you think?
Well, I said it from the start of the season, last season, that Arsenal were going to win the Premier League, and they did it. And I was very confident about that. I knew that I was a little bit stressed the last couple of weeks of the Premier League, but they kept the nerves and they kept focused on winning games, and they did it. Don't forget, last season they had a great season. They reached the Champions League final. They were out quarterfinal for the FA Cup, and they played so many games during the season, and I'm very proud of what they've done, what they've achieved, and finally they did it. And I think this is something we can enjoy now. And I saw the first few games of Arsenal. I watched the first game against Coventry, and I was very pleased with that. So I'm very confident for this season now.
And very confident. Does that equal so confident that they will retain their title?
I think they can do the back-to-back, just like Paris Saint-Germain with the Champions League. I think the new signings added value, on the team, and I think they're still missing, I think, one or two players, but I think they have probably one of the strongest team, in the Premier League. When you look at the bench, I was having a quick look at the bench against Coventry, and there is so many players that can be suited, in so many teams in the Premier League. So, yes, I think in terms of confidence, they break the line, and I think they know exactly what they can achieve, and they are stronger than last season, I think.
Emmanuel, Simon's with me. I'm going to bring him in a second. But when you look at challengers, who do you think will be their closest challenger?
Well, really tough to say that, but I will probably choose Chelsea. Why? Because it's a new era over there, a new mentality. I watched the game yesterday. I was really, really pleased with some players at Chelsea. And I think they deserve to win the game yesterday. And on top of it, I think they have something to prove this season. The manager, the players, everybody, they're on a mission. And the fact they don't play the European competition this season, will allow them, to recover. And the main target, for Alonso is to change the mentality of this team, the momentum of this team during some games. Nervously as well, the mentality have to change. Their records, with red cards, things like this. The fact that sometimes they lose the game because all of a sudden they cannot control their emotions. But I saw yesterday some players that can be leaders into this team. Cole Palmer yesterday was brilliant. I think some players has reached what it takes, when you start a new season. And for many reasons, I think Chelsea can be the strongest opponent for Arsenal.
Why do you I mean, listen, that's fantastic and it's based upon logic, but why do you so quickly discount potentially Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City from being the major rivals?
They will be there, they will fight, for the top table. They will do everything because those guys, those teams, City, I watched the game. Wow. They won it, but I was really, really surprised the way they play with no inspiration. And obviously, substitution has made a big impact. But the fact that Pep Guardiola is not there, something, changed so much at City. For Manchester United, until they don't resolve their problems, especially defensively, I totally agree with Fernandes, what he said afterwards, after the game, saying that they are doing always the same mistakes. I watched the game, Manchester United too, and I didn't like it. They had the possession of the ball, but it takes just a few moments, for the opponents to score, to create occasions. So they have to fix their defensive problems. For Liverpool, I still think they are missing some players. I mean, defensively, it's poor. It's really poor. And I think they're still missing something up front, especially on the wings, starting with the left wing. I think they're missing important players. Some players obviously don't play with confidence. We can see that. I can mention Wirtz, for example. I'm still expecting him, to do much better than that.
Yeah.
But there is a top team, actually, City, Manchester United, Liverpool. They can fight for the title. But when I look at Arsenal, I think they are stronger.
Okay.
The momentum, the time of confidence,
yeah.
The philosophy, the DNA on the pitch, all this, the spine of the team, have been playing for years all together. And the fact that they won the Premier League changed a lot of things.
Emmanuel, we're going to talk about Infantino, the other side of the 11 o'clock bulletin. On Liverpool, and I want to finish with this, since we're talking about the Premier League and who may or may not be Arsenal's closest challengers. Liverpool, if they do land Bradley Barcola from PSG, and that would be a whopping deal, wouldn't it? 120 million plus. What would that give Iraola and Liverpool?
Yeah, I think, but some players needs to improve, the confidence, but as well, they have to be more effective on the pitch. So many players are so far away from their best level. Van Dijk, for example, is for me the symbol of this team. But if Barcola goes to Liverpool, yeah, it will be a huge message, for the dressing room. On the left flank, this guy can make so many differences. And this is what's missing as well with Liverpool, the speed, something that can be fast, running with the ball, that can not scare, of fighting against defenders. And this is exactly what they are missing at Liverpool. They have good players, but they need, modern football is based on the fast players, who can make this decision within a few seconds, can make differences, with the ball. And I don't think many players, at Liverpool actually for that.
Okay, Emmanuel, stay with us. We're enjoying your company. The Infantino backlash continues. Football legends of the game, come together with a joint statement saying enough is enough. And Emmanuel Petit is one of those legends. We're back with him shortly.
I've got a league table in front of me. Guess who's bottom?
Who's bottom? Who's bottom?
Your mob. You're bottom. Bottom of the table, Jay. Jay, do you know what, mate? I offered you 10th the other day.
Look, mate.
You going down?
Mate, please, come on.
What do you mean, come on? You're bottom of the table. You're bottom. I mean, you love flirting with the bottom of the table. You've started the season bottom of the table. You could go down, Jay, again.
Well, on that, if we play like that, we'll go down. If we play like that, we will go down. It's as simple as that. Forget top four. Forget European football. Forget all this, guff that we've been talking about with players coming in, a new era at Tottenham. If we play like that, we'll go down. Because you cannot turn up to a football match and play like that. That's embarrassing.
talkSPORT Sports Update with NordVPN. Now with built-in next-gen antivirus that automatically detects malicious links, websites and files.
With your headlines at just gone 1 minute past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Spurs have signed Savinho from Man City for £75 million for a man with 2 goals and 9 assists in 53 Premier League games. Former Crystal Palace owner Simon Jordan wonders if this is a good tactic for Spurs.
These players being bought from other sides that you're trying to emulate is always a curious phenomenon for me. I know that you can get jigsaw puzzles that work better in different spaces, but if Savinho can't do it for a rival, why can he do it for you?
They've spent over $300 million now. We're told Spurs are still pushing to sign Cody Gakpo. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
There was talk yesterday that Manchester City are also interested in the Dutchman. I'm told that isn't likely at this stage, that he moves to the Etihad. If he goes anywhere, Gakpo, it could well be Tottenham, and I think that would be a really good addition for Roberto De Zerbi's side.
Now, Xabi Alonso wants Joao Pedro, Palmer and Rodgers to inspire Chelsea's title charge from the front this season. Danny Murphy saw them win at Fulham.
That system allows those three to defend very little. And that's really important if you want them so focused on winning your football matches. And I quite like that setup for Alonso's team.
Who played his favoured three at the back with Reece James in midfield, occasionally dropping into that back line in the win over Fulham. There's more from Danny on talkSPORT's daily podcast, and some sad news from the world of rugby league. So Billy Boston has died at the age of 92. Boston grew up playing Union before switching coach to sign for Wigan in 1953 at the age of 19. He went on to score 478 tries in 488 games for the club during the 50s and 60s. Last year, Sir Billy Boston became the first rugby league player to be awarded a knighthood. He's already been immortalised in a statue outside Wembley. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
A British undercover reporter has become the first journalist to cross the English Channel in a migrant dinghy, and a man has died and a woman has been left critically injured in a crash after a police pursuit near Stratford. Amelia's back at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 400 EV-ready centres across the UK, we're top of the league for electric car owners. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
Dry for most of us with sunny spells. A few showers about, mostly in the southwest. These could turn heavy late afternoon. Thunderstorms developing overnight.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT, Visit Victoria could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for two to watch the 150th anniversary test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
Good morning, everybody. It is 4 minutes past 11 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, Tuesday, August the 25th. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT, live on YouTube as well. And you heard him in the build-up to 11 o'clock, and he's still with us. France World Cup winning midfielder Emmanuel Petit is with us live on this show. Emmanuel, we get stuck right into the Premier League situation. I haven't had time to ask you, how's your summer been? You opted not to go to the USA for the World Cup, unlike ourselves.
Yeah, well, too much work to do, between London and Paris. But I was not present, at the World Cup in America. But what can I say about this World Cup? There's things that I was pleased, but many things that as well that I was not happy with.
Of course. And this is where it comes down to us talking about Gianni Infantino, FIFA president Gianni Infantino. The backlash continues. Now, football legends we know have come together with a joint statement to declare enough is enough. You're part of that. You want him gone, don't you? Why is that?
I want, Infantino to leave the FIFA presidents. But in the meantime, I would love as well that some things change as well. The way FIFA has been ruling, the football world. 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, I wrote a book about that, and had no echo in the press. I'm not stupid. I know how the systems works, but I think FIFA is not a democracy. It's the property of a few person. They took away the football from the players, from the fans, and they do exactly what they want with it. It's only personal interest.
And you and a whole raft of top names from the game, legends of the game, have come together and are pushing for him to go. Samuel Eto'o is a big name. He's defended Infantino. He says he wants FIFA's controversial plan to sell stakes in its competitions to be put back on the table if Infantino is re-elected next year. So he for one backs him.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about that. What is his role, actually? I think he's the president of
Cameroon.
Yeah, the Cameroon. So we can understand why he's saying that. He's trying to protect as well the system. I can understand his point of view, but I disagree with him because as a former player, we have never been questioned about anything about football. The only thing we've been asked is to play, and the show must go on, and which we did because most of the players who play at the highest level receive so much money. So I always said that if you want to change football, the unity between players have to be 100%. Actually, we don't see that, and it's been like that through generations. Why? Because the system is based on the top players. It's a few percentage of the players into the world. The vast majority of the players don't live the same life, They don't play European competition. They don't play for the national team. So they play basically, the championship, sometimes, the FA Cup. But most of the time, the top players, they are so focused on playing for their club because they play every 3 days and they receive so much money. So they don't have maybe the time to do that, and they know exactly that the whole market is on their shoulders. So I can understand why Eto'o said that, because he's the president of the Cameroon Federation. But honestly, football is what it means when we talk about football is unity. And actually, for years and years, it's not only about Infantino, because it was the same with Blatter before that. You know, the scandal at the FIFA has been there, you know, on the table for years and years. Has it changed? No, really. Have we asked the players to be involved in the big decision? Never. We ask those people who spend their monies, you know, for the football industry. Maybe sometimes we should ask their opinion as well. Never. So it's always a few group of person, you know, that can control the whole system and they do what they want with it.
Well,
and I just agree with that.
Simon's alongside me. Simon, judging from what Emmanuel says, he's obviously very serious about what he wants to see happen. His voice is an important one. So is the unified voice of other football legends. Can they make the change that they want to make?
Depends what changes they want to make. I mean, you've got to look at the system that produces circumstances where people like Infantino, Blatter, and the originators of FIFA that awarded the World Cup to Argentina in 1978 with all the corruption that went with that. You've got to look at the system rather than the individuals to some extent, because all you'll be in danger of doing is removing Infantino and replacing with someone else that comes from that system. I mean, UEFA are no better. This idea that subsequently UEFA are the poster boys is absolutely absurd. Ceferin is cut from the same cloth. Ceferin was part of an organisation that has changed the voting structure so that you can have more than 3 terms, although he's saying he doesn't want to stand now because he's seen the robustness of people's response to it, with David Gill and other people going, hang on a second, you can't do that. UEFA have got a monopoly. UEFA tried to shut down competition when somebody dared to poke their head up and say, we'd like to rival the Champions League. The players do come to the table. The players, ex-players, sit in spaces like IFAB, where they get to make up the rules for the game. We've seen ex-players. We've seen Michel Platini sit on top of UEFA. Okay, he's cleared now, but there were challenges about his tenure. The players have been the major beneficiaries of the change of football. Yes, of course, it is the elite players, but we can't make a case in any other industry for average people being rewarded in any different way. The elite get the money, and the less elite don't. The big argument is what do we want to change? Was Infantino right? Really and truly, Infantino's opportunity to change the direction of travel and get investment in football was completely flawed. You can't sell football. But he could never get it through because there was still a democratic process that really do need investment into football, which is hence the reason why Samuel Eto'o's popped his head above the parapet, because they want more money into Cameroonian football and get their votes. Right. But there was always going to be the mass football in blocks that were going to block it. So the sensationalism and the hysteria about what he was trying to do was never going to find fruition because he wasn't really going to be able to achieve it. But the question is, why did he think he could? And that's because he brushes shoulders with people like Trump and people of that ilk, where he thinks he's in that situation where he's presiding over a nation state and he runs football. But really and truly, what is it you change the establishment? I'm very interested to hear from Emmanuel. Once you change the establishment, you become the establishment. So what are you changing it to? What is it you want to fix? You want players at the table. You do get them at the table a lot of the time, telling people what they don't want to do.
What does change look like, Emmanuel? From this point going forward, you as football legends, and you are one, mate, but you say for the fans, for the players, and for the good of the game, we will be silent no more. Okay, the floor is yours.
We can't do anything because we're just former players. Our voices, could be strong in the press, but what impact, from that? I'm not stupid, I'm close to be 56 years old, so I'm not naive. I know exactly that we won't change the system. What I want, because as I said before, I wrote a book, 10 years ago. I proposed some issues, starting from the elections, for FIFA, UEFA, even for here in France. I said it, I was fighting against the French Federation for that. The elections, we never ask the players to be involved into the elections. They're playing, they're making the whole business on the pitch, and we don't ask them their opinion about who's going to rule their world. I mean,
so how would that work, Manu? How would that work? I mean, I've got no objection to a broader perspective. I think FIFA as an organisation should be more transparent, less opaque. But when you say that, say, for example, the tens of thousands of players that play around Europe would be voting potentially on elections for FIFA presidency or UEFA presidency, how in practice would that really work? Tell me.
Really easy.
Go ahead.
We got every single players around the world, they have a license, with a number. It's like inland revenue numbers as well that follows you since you're born until you die. So it's easy, simple clicks, on your computer. The days of the elections, you put your number and you vote for who you want to be the president. It's easy, and we can do that as well with the amateur football.
So you'd go around the globe, and however many every single league, every single player, the thousands in the UK, the thousands in South America, the thousands in every country.
Why?
No, I'm not kicking. I'm just asking what your thought process is. And then that would be...
why are we asking only the person who are in charge of federations to give their vote, for the FIFA president? It's the same with UEFA presidents. I mean, we should ask as well those people who are making football on the pitch, who are making the whole business. I mean, why is it only a couple of hundred of people that can vote this so important institution into the world? When you see those who are making football, just stay away, from the election. This is not your business, we are going to take care of it. We are going to protect you, but this is not the case. So I mean,
I'm not arguing. I'm just exploring your thinking. So the major change in football that the players have massively benefited from, the economics, the scale, the global reach has all been achieved for players in conjunction with players playing on a field getting the benefit, and administrators making big commercial decisions with broadcasters. So the major benefit, however low you go down the pyramid to however high you go, everyone's benefited because the scale's gone. All of this has been for the players. So what is it you think that the players are not getting the benefit of, given the fact that they are the major beneficiaries?
No. As I said before, I said that the first to take advantage of it is the top players, but the vast majority of them, they are not living in the same world. So there is no unity into football players. Don't remember, I think we all remember, back in days, with Maradona, with Eric Cantona, they wanted to create, the players, unions, and it didn't work. So I was very upset about that, because I think that was a good direction to take. But I said into my book 10 years ago that I was talking about the elections, but as well about the schedule of the games. I mean, there is so many competition now, actually. It's only based on the top players. So, I mean, for many reasons, you can change Infantino if you want, but the system won't change at all.
That's my point.
Okay. Emmanuel, we'll keep at it. You'll be joining us again, I would have thought, in the fullness of time. And no doubt, although you won't like this, Infantino will still be in situ. But we will return to that with Emmanuel Petit. A number of people have been having their say on Infantino, of course, almost on a daily basis. And we'll bring you more of that very shortly. Stay with us as we approach 11:20.
Yeah, fair play to Hull. I think Sergei Yakirovich is going to prove to be a very tactically astute manager. He's got Dean Holden as his assistant, obviously a boyhood United fan, but he was absolutely buzzing with that win over his club, and they deserved it, Hull. I thought they were brilliantly organised. I've pretty much been the only pundit on talkSPORT saying I think they've got a chance of staying up, and maybe people will come round to that way of thinking now. But the lack of energy, effort and endeavour from those Manchester United players is unforgivable. The bare minimum away from home against a newly promoted team on the opening day of the season, you have to match their levels of commitment. And these United players did not do that. And is it a surprise? You look at people like Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw, these players have been part of the problem for too long, haven't they?
So is Carlos Baleba the answer to your problems then? And is it going to happen, Crookie?
It's going to happen. I'm told it could even be announced as early as today. Whether he's the answer or not, I don't know, because you look at United defensively, so poor, the 2 goals they conceded. I've mentioned Shaw already. They definitely need an upgrade in the left-back department. It seems to be every summer they target one area of the team, the United hierarchy. Last summer it was the forward line, obviously bringing in Cunha and Mbumo and Šeško.
Build-up on talkSPORT with DAZN. This Saturday, witness history as Moses bids to become Britain's youngest ever heavyweight world champion, exclusively on DAZN's Saturday Fight Night.
Well, that's right. This Saturday, witness history. Moses Atoma bids to become Britain's youngest ever heavyweight world champion. We're going to look ahead to the big fight now with DAZN. I'm delighted to say British heavyweight fighter Johnny Fisher is about to join us, Simon. They faced off on DAZN, Atoma and Hrgović. This was the moment.
You've been praised to have a good chin. That's not something you should be praised for. Like, I get so much hate because people saying I ain't been hit on the chin. Ain't that a good thing?
In my eyes, chin is the most important thing in boxing, man. Without good chin, you can't be great.
If you don't get hit.
Oh, you'll get hit at some point. You'll get hit.
Not under the bright lights.
You can't box for 20 years to don't get hit.
Not under the bright lights.
You must get hit sometimes, and if you don't have chin, you can be a great fighter.
I'll hit you before you hit me. We'll see.
So what if I don't react?
Then we'll switch
forward.
That's fine. We'll see.
I fought Olympic champions, world champions, everyone. I spar everyone. I never was on the ground. No one ever knocked me out. So I don't think this guy will knock me out.
Johnny Fisher joins us. Johnny, you sparred with both of these guys, Atoma and Hrgović. Who's right in that exchange?
I think, for me, there's both pluses to what they're both saying. Fitness and having a good chin comes from being super fit, of course, but Moses has passed every test in front of him. If he doesn't need to get it, why would he want to get it? He doesn't need to.
But Johnny, it's a naive reaction, because the higher up the food chain you go, even when you're the elite of the elite, even when you're Muhammad Ali, when you're the greatest fighters of our times, Lennox Lewis, one of the things that you've got to be able to do is take a punch. And the reasons why Moses doesn't like it is because it's the one question that keeps getting posed to him of the fact that he hasn't had one on the whiskers, and he bristles at it. And I think Filip Hrgović is absolutely right, because Filip Hrgović will be the first real elite fighter that Moses has gone in with. Jermaine Franklin was brought in to be durable, which means he was brought in for Moses to punch. You know, Dillian White was an avatar. He wasn't the real Dillian White that 40 years ago. This is a bona fide world-level heavyweight that's standing in front of Moses, and Moses is likely to get one on the chin, and then we'll have that question answered, won't we?
Well, yeah, of course. There's no doubt that Hrgović is a league above from anyone that Ituma has fought. But my insight into this is if he comes through Hrgović, he's solidified himself at the top of the sport. He's a top 3, top 4, top 5 heavyweight, because that's how I view Hrgović. So it's not his fault that he's got to this point and not had it tested. The test is going to come now, because he will hit Hrgović and Hrgović will come back.
Agreed, Johnny. But what the debate was is Moses' rather naive stance of saying it ain't about having a good chin. And I think Philip was right. When you look at this fight, I mean, I personally think that Moses Itoma, I don't know what you think, is going to do to Philip the exact thing that Philip says he can't do, and the exact thing that no one's done to him, which is put him on his backside. I think Moses is going to go through him and knock him out inside 4 rounds. What's your thought from a more expert point of view?
Well, I sparred Hrgović when he was in Texas before he fought Dubois, and we saw the toughness, the chin that we're talking about there with Hrgović. He's got such a good punch repertoire. He throws shots. Sort of his right hand, you don't see it coming. He just sort of pings it out like a jab. So he will pose a different question to Ituma from what he's seen before. But yeah, the speed of Ituma, the footwork, it's on another level to anything that I've been in with. So yeah, it's a tough one to call, because I do think if Ituma gets dragged into a Hrgović type fight where it is going back and forth, this is the acid test. There has been, Franklin doesn't compare, Dillian White doesn't compare. Right. Hrgović is a bona fide world level heavyweight who could be a world champion in his own right.
How does he win it? How does Hrgović win it? We've seen Hrgović put real dents in Daniel Dubois, and then Daniel Dubois caught up with him, and the cuts did damage to Hrgović, and that's always the threat. And Hrgović himself has said it, that potentially his eyes getting opened up could be a damaging thing. But for Hrgović, you know, we know the narrative. He's coming on the show later on with me, and the narrative is he's been brought in to get bashed up by Moses Itoma, and Moses looks good, right? But how does Philip win the fight? Drag him into deep waters.
He has to take it into that sort of mental warfare stage, I think. As you said, Ituma, because of how successful he's been, has not been tested on the chin yet. But if he brings him down into a fight when it goes 7-8 rounds and it is a bit tit for tat, it's going to be a war of attrition if Hrgović is going to win it. That's how I see it. He's going to keep wearing him down. And the experienced 34-year-old in Hrgović, that's the way he's got to view it. The longer it goes, and if he keeps getting his success, it goes to 5, 6, 7, 8. That's where I think he takes him to if he is going to win, deep waters.
Johnny, do you think we're getting close to being the same territory as we were in years ago in terms of Mike Tyson's opponents? Before they even got into the ring with Tyson, they knew they were beaten. Are we almost in that same kind of territory with Moses?
When I think of the character of Filip Hrgović, that man is bulletproof in the mindset of when I've sparred with him, when I've seen him with other people. Remember, he kept taking bombs from Daniel Dubois. He kept walking forward. It was only cuts that stopped that fight. That man didn't want to go down. So I wouldn't put it in that same category, because Filip Hrgović is made of bulletproof stuff in terms of a mentality.
How does this go then? What's on your mind as regards what we're going to see?
I'm thinking about it now. I'm thinking as I'm talking to you. I wouldn't be surprised if I see Ituma with his hand speed and his foot movement light him up in the first few rounds. But if it does go to round 5, round 6, round 7, round 8, I would favour Hrgović as it goes on. I remember watching Ituma in one of his early days. He actually broke his hand in the fight at fighting a guy called Konstantin Dobchenko, and he went 6 rounds with him and couldn't make a dent in him. So there's lots of variations and variables in the game of boxing. It's all about how it turns up on the night, and Hrgović is obviously a world-level guy who's got his own punch repertoire and power. So let's see how it pans out.
Well, Johnny, you return to the ring on Saturday, September 26th, the Copper Box, your Zuffa debut against the Belgian heavyweight, Michael Purton. How are you feeling about it? Where are you at in terms of preparation?
Well, I'm in the depth of training camp now. I've just done a bit this morning, back to the gym after I've got off the phone to you fine gentlemen. So in the thick of it, as they say. So we was meant to have an American guy called Adam Stewart, his name was, who's 17-1. But he had visa issues and problems with the board getting over here. He'd been done for armed robbery in the past. But now we've got Michael Puriton, 12-2. and he'll pose different problems and different things in my tutelage and my apprenticeship as a boxer. I'm still young in this game, 27, and I'm at this level now, and I've got to see if I can move up to the English and British and see if I can compete there, you know?
Johnny, we wish you well with it. Johnny Fisher joining us live. It's a big fight in so many different ways for Johnny.
Absolutely.
Because it's a very big purse with his Zuffa debut.
But he's a good guy, and he's a very pragmatic individual, and he's very likeable, and you find yourself wanting him to do very well because of the manner in which he communicates. He's an honest, decent individual that wants to make the best of his abilities, knows where he is and where he isn't, doesn't have delusions of grandeur. So you want him to do well, and I hope he does do well, because what will mean a lot for Johnny is if he can win the British or something at that level, get to that level, that would be a really significant achievement. And who knows what you build off that? Who knows what you can build off after that? But what he deserves is the opportunity to make a decent living out of boxing, because it's a bloody hard game, and he's a very decent
Go win
man.
it, Johnny. Go win the fight against this fellow, Michael Piriton. That's on September the 26th at the Copper Box here in London. In the meantime, we're looking ahead to Toma Hrgović with DAZN. Join DAZN Ultimate for 185 plus fight nights and 12 plus pay-per-views every year, including a Toma Hrgović and Ryan Garcia Conor Benn, all included at no extra cost.
Big fight build-up on talkSPORT with DAZN. This Saturday, witness history as Moses bids to become Britain's youngest ever heavyweight world champion, exclusively on DAZN Saturday Fight Night.
Yeah, all right, boys, how you doing?
Yeah, very good. Good to have you on. What do you want to say?
I just want to say this stinky Arsenal chat from you boys this morning is nothing short of comical.
Go on.
Gabby saying that Arsenal should be winning the league with our spending. Well, both of you. You know, recruitment's a big part of it. Look at the likes of City. Well, not City, but the likes of Chelsea, United. They've spent loads of money. It's not a given that you're going to win the league. I think we've proven, you know, the culture Arteta's built alongside getting the right recruitment, bringing Berta in. You know, it's impressive.
Yeah.
So you don't think the money that you spent, you should be winning the Premier League?
I don't think it's got anything to do with the money. I think it's got to do with the quality.
You know what?
I think the quality of your squad is so good that you should be winning the league.
It costs a lot of money.
Definitely.
I agree. And that says more about the recruitment than just pure spending. Obviously, pure spending comes into it, but it doesn't mean that it's a given that we're going to win the league. Or I think we will win the league, but it isn't just as simple as saying we should be winning it. Arteta's not that good of a manager because of the spending.
Who said that?
Disagree with that. Well, that's what the sort of the signs I was getting from Gabby before. It was sort of like he should be winning the league.
No, when I'm saying you should win in the league, have you spent wisely? Yes, you have. Have you spent on players that have become fantastic players? Yes, you have. But you can't look at Arsenal's net spend over the last 6 years.
talkSPORT News.
Very good morning. You're listening to talkSPORT. With your news headlines, I'm Amelia Beltrao. It's being claimed that some small boat migrants don't pay cash up front to cross over to Britain, but are then tied to slave labour. That's according to Christian Drogan, a journalist who posed as a British criminal who was on the run in Calais before boarding a UK-bound dinghy.
Even on the French side, people are, helping the smugglers, and they have to work, say, 2 months to help the smugglers, get people to the boats and set the boats off, that sort of thing. And then once they've done the 2 months or whatever period it might be, then they have their free ticket. You're on your way to Britain.
Drogan met a smuggler on TikTok before spending 8 days in a migrant camp and eventually being taken across in a small boat. The full investigation is being released exclusively today on Talk. The Home Office says the Labour government has prevented 47,000 crossing attempts. Elsewhere, a man has died and a woman woman has been left critically injured in a crash after a police pursuit near Stratford. Warwickshire Police says officers attempted to stop a black Audi yesterday afternoon before it collided with a white Ford Puma. The female driver of the Ford has been taken to hospital. Meanwhile, a vigil for all those who died in a crash on the A66 has been described as nothing but a mockery of the lives of those two policemen. They were killed by reckless driving in a car containing 5 young men who also all died. And it turns out a Costa cappuccino has the same amount of caffeine as 4 Red Bulls. A which study of high street coffee chains found Greggs and Caffeinera cappuccinos had the second and third highest caffeine levels, while Starbucks serves the lowest.
Talk Sport Sports Headlines with Bostik. For workable, easy-to-apply mortar that tools easily, pros trust Bostik.
Is Savinho worth £85 million? Spurs think so. And rugby league legend Sir Billy Boston dies, aged 92. Ben is more at 12.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. GambleAware.org.
Sean Martin joins us from BetMGM, and we have a bunch of things to get through, Simon, with our Sean. Sean, good morning to you. Going to talk Lask Linz against your mighty Glasgow Celtic very shortly. Let's start with the odds in the transfer window, with just a few days to go until deadline day itself. Where do you want to go with that?
Morning, guys. Yeah, well, we've watched every Premier League team once now. Arsenal are actually into odds on at 10 to 11 to win the title, which, if you remember last season, Liverpool also were after the first few games, and look how that turned out. So if anyone does fancy someone other than Arsenal to win it, the rest of the contenders could be pretty good value for you. Man City 4s, Chelsea 6 to 1, Liverpool 9s, Man United 14s. That could depend on how well those other teams fill gaps, since there's a week to go until the transfer deadline. And that Chelsea performance last night, going forward anyway, had a lot of positives to it. At the back, maybe not. Speaking to Jordan, the Chelsea fan earlier, let's just say not best pleased with the goalkeeper situation at the moment, and Chelsea are actually between 2 and 3 to 1 favourites to sign Emiliano Martinez from Villa. Guys, there's also been some chat around Cody Gakpo leaving Liverpool for Man City as well, and I'm sorry to put it out there into the world, Simon, but to me, I'm very surprised nobody has claimed Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace yet. I think Liverpool in particular look like they would benefit from having him in that midfield. He's 4 to 1 for that to happen, but it's actually Man United leading the market there at 2 to 1 if he were to leave Palace at all this summer. Liverpool obviously also still need at least one more winger, probably more if Gakpo does leave. Bradley Barcola, he's been odds on to join for a while now, actually. Similar story with Enzo Fernandez, his reported move to Man City. That's odds on as well, and it has been for a period of time. We were talking earlier on with the BetMGM guys, Simon, the business side of these types of deals, there must be so many facets that go into it from all sides: timing, clubs, players, agents, etc. In fact, I'm curious, have you ever been held to ransom for a player that you wanted, or indeed being the one holding out for more right to the end for a higher fee for one of your players?
Yeah, I mean, it's all relative to scale because the time has moved on since I was an owner of a football club.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
of course you do. I mean, they're all convoluted and complex because you have one set of negotiations with the club which have become much more varied now because clubs want so many different things when they're selling players. They want to retain the inherent value of a player's deeds when he joins another club. They want sell-ons, they want carries, they want deals based upon his achievements to be able to supplement fees. Then you've got structures of how you want to pay the club in terms of whether you want to pay them on the drip, whether you want to get a discount for paying them up front, how long you want to pay it over in conjunction with the rules. Then you've got to deal with the players. players and the players what they want, and all the caveats of the various different things that they want. They want money for turning up. They want money for doing their job. They want money for staying for a year, and all of these things. And then you've got the other mix in the equation, which is the agent who purports to work for you whilst working for everybody else but you. So all of those things come into play, and it makes it a very joyous experience.
Sounds a lot of fun. Sounds a real hoot. You must miss those days.
It's a bundle of fun. It's like pulling a hair out of your backside. It's a real enjoyable experience.
Sean, actually, I want to put this to Simon. Jimmy Carragher says Liverpool's £445 million summer spending in 2025 risks being remembered as, quotes, arguably the worst transfer window in Premier League history. They broke Premier League transfer record twice that summer. But he says, my fear of watching Liverpool, and it's the first game of the season, is this window of 12 months ago could set Liverpool back a year or two to fix. He says the only success coming out of it was Ekitike.
Maybe. I mean, to date, the only success coming out of it, because the two players that have cost the bulk of the money in Isak and Wiese have not hit the ground for various reasons. We've just made a case that Chelsea spent 750 million 3 years ago. So I'm sure that the hyperbole that Jamie is deploying to the team that he supports is well seeded. But the idea that these players, does he think Isak's a good player? I'd ask Jamie, and I suspect he'd say probably yes. So they've got to get the best out of Isak. Ekitiki's injured. That's an unfortunate set of circumstances, but he was the one that was doing relatively well. So no, it's not a great. But I think to say that it's the worst transfer window because they've spent 440 million. I don't know. Have Liverpool got no money left? Is that the reason why they didn't spend anything? We made a big song and dance, didn't we, about the fact that Arne Slot spent nothing in his first year. In his second year, he spent 400 million, which meant he spent 200 million over 2 years, which is no big shakes in this day and age.
Yeah, I think his point is, with that huge outlay, they've got precious little to show for it.
Sure, but that happens lots of times. You know, if they resell the players and they get their money back from them, they sell Isak again and get 70, 80, 90 million quid for him. What was Darwin Núñez then? That a resounding success. I mean, these things happen. These trades happen. The fact that Liverpool went from a side that had won the league to a side that were very poor last year for a variety of reasons. I mean, I don't think the Jota tragedy helped, but I don't think that was the reason why. I think the loss of Luka Diaz was a major destabilisation. The form of Mohamed Salah and his disappointing end to his career at Liverpool because he decided to go to war with the football club were contributing factors.
Yeah.
And all those things come to part. So they haven't made it an ideal start. Liverpool weren't playing well, so it didn't help that their two big spending, big transfer fees fitted into a team that started to become dysfunctional.
Oh, true. But Sean, I'm coming your way in a second. But if you're a Newcastle fan or a Villa fan, Simon, you're saying, oh, really, Jamie? 445 million? We'd love to spend money like that, but we can't.
But there's the injustice and the unfairness of the situation that the leagues have created, that UEFA, the wonderful UEFA, the paragon of virtue that everyone's looking at now because they're going up against FIFA, the ones that created PSR. So when you football clubs are watching what cannot happen at Aston Villa, what cannot happen at Newcastle, how your players are being pillaged out of your football club at prices that really give you much of an advance besides a few quid in the bank.
Yeah.
Go thank the UEFAs of the world.
Sure thing. Sean, let's get down to it. Lask Linz against the mighty Celtic. Celtic did a job in them, but it's only half time really. 3-0 from the first leg. Champions League qualifier. They go to Austria tonight. What are you thinking?
What am I not thinking, Jim? Yeah, I mean, you'll remember last week I mentioned the kind of role of dishonour over the last 5 decisive Champions League qualification ties. Celtic never get through any of them.
Yeah.
One thing about all of those, though, is that at no point did Celtic go into the second leg of any of those with a lead, never mind a 3-goal lead. So the ball very much in Celtic's court tonight, and actually quite a short 16-1 on to qualify, but 5-2 underdogs to win the match on the night with last odds on for that. So essentially, the market kind of suggests that Celtic will lose tonight, but make it through, which, to be fair, if you watched the first leg, and I know you did, the way Lask started and the type of goals that they had disallowed, that's not out with the realms of possibility. Celtic needed some big saves from Sinisalo and goal last week. The midfield looked a little too easy to play through. Still need to get an Arnie Engels replacement in there, I'd suggest. But the difference this year from the last 5 or so attempts, I'm hoping, is the forward recruits, because that was the difference last week. All 3 goals last week were top quality from Celtic.
Yeah.
And I suppose who'd have thought getting in first team level attackers in good time before a qualifier would lead to Celtic scoring goals in a qualifier. But with that in mind, you're getting just over even money for both teams to score 3 or more goals in the game and Celtic ultimately to qualify, lads, which as long as the last part of that lands, I'll be a happy chappy on here with you tomorrow.
Yeah, you got to think. You got to hope and think that Celtic 3 up, didn't concede, last glints, do the job, qualify for the Champions League.
Filled with hope for Celtic. I mean, they've done their job at home.
Yeah,
they should go and do the job. This is not a great. I mean, Australian Bundesliga is not a great league. You know, we don't have people like Hans Krankel running around playing for Austrian teams anymore.
Hans Krankel. Do you remember Hans Krankel?
Yeah.
Do you remember him, Sean?
He doesn't. He wasn't even born when he was around.
Hans Krankel.
Hans Krankel. So Celtic should do the job tonight.
Yeah.
So they can get into the group stages and fail at that stage.
Well, let's hope they at least
championship.
progress tonight. EFL Cup second round previews. We've got Forest Leeds. That's live on talkSPORT 2. What do you want to give us?
Yep, 17 ties tonight, so with plenty of accumulators on the go, no doubt. But very quickly on the outrights, we've got Arsenal 4-1 favourites for that competition as well. They've only won it twice, which always shocks me, a club of that size, and with their other commitments this season, again, maybe value in looking elsewhere. The usual
You look
suspects.
shocked, I must say.
Or the League Cup, formerly the Rumbelows Cup, or the Milk Cup.
Yes.
Or the Carabao Cup, or the Worthington Cup, that wonderful, meaningful thing that everyone went out and celebrated for weeks on end when Newcastle won it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be quiet.
You've got the usual suspects other than Arsenal. Man City 6-1, Liverpool 7s, Man United and Chelsea 8s, Spurs 11s. But wider than that, if you fancy as we've talked about Mark O'Neill there, a Leicester type winner. The likes of Villa 16-1, Newcastle 20s, Everton 25s, plus Forest, Leeds, Brentford and Brighton all 33-1 as well. As you say, Forest and Leeds actually play one another tonight. The only all Premier League tie this evening. Leeds are 23-10 to make it 2 wins in a row over Forest after the weekend. Forest 6-5 at home and 12-5 the draw. Likely you'll need to see lineups before making your choices for most matches tonight, I would say. But there are 4 other Premier League teams in action. Coventry away to Plymouth, Brentford at Birmingham, Hull over at Stoke and Ipswich host Leicester. And that's a Leicester under a wee bit of pressure. You'd have to say Russell Martin copping a bit of flack for the start to the season that they've had. 9-2 to do the business, Leicester at Portman Road. And if, like one of my colleagues, you think the Premier League sides will maybe rotate slightly too much, then the upset fourfold in 90 minutes is around 315-1. But the one I would be looking at is a much more palatable 10-1 for the 4 Premier League sides to beat their lower league opposition, Jim. I don't know if you guys foresee any upsets with the Premier League guys tonight.
Not really. Not having gone through them with you there, Sean. I can't really say. I mean, Brentford go to Birmingham. There's a few good ties in there though, Simon. Having said that, Southampton, West Ham's a decent one, but I don't think Russell Martin and Leicester run to anything at this particular time, and going to Ipswich at this moment is not really going to do them any good. I see them going out tonight.
Depends what Ipswich put out.
Yeah.
The Premier League sides, certainly the promoted Premier League sides, surely are going to rotate and keep their Premier League footballers, their first lineup, available for the next Premier League game, because that's where Ipswich's future lies. It doesn't lie in winning the League Cup. It lies in staying in the Premier League.
Right. Sean, score prediction. Last Celtic.
2-2.
There you go. You heard it from Sean Martin. And that would mean Celtic would progress, and that's what we want. Sean, thanks for that. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Would you both have expected better than what you saw from Tottenham? And I think the answer
I'm
to
not
that
surprised
is,
that they lost.
Oh, yes.
I'm not surprised that they lost, but the
Not
manner...
taking anything away from Brentford, though.
No, the manner in which they lost surprised me.
Right.
There didn't seem to be any
Right.
fight or any change in gear, or the mindset hasn't changed. It's exactly the same. A soft underbelly from Spurs, and they're going to have to eradicate that very quickly.
And both of you think they'll do one hell of a lot better than 17th.
Well, they've,
So
with
do you
the players
still
they're now
have
buying,
heightened
yes.
expectations that they might be top half? Then they might be top 6.
No, I'm thinking top half of the table. I'm not saying they're going to be, it would be a surprise. They could do 6th, 7th, but they're going to have to improve massively, Jim, from what we saw at the weekend. And where are these players that have been injured for so long? Look, there's an awful lot of players.
Fit, isn't he?
Van der Ven wasn't available, Jim. You look at the back four, there's hardly anybody playing from last season. So they're facts, but get them fit then. Let's get them out there.
We saw Newcastle yesterday and how they went about it.
They're at home.
We saw they're at home, yeah. But we saw Tottenham and how they went about it. It was chalk and cheese.
But I think this is great for De Zerbi because he'll sort the wheat from the chaff. And for me, I don't have any expectation of Tottenham. They're not my football club. So, I don't particularly admire their board and I don't particularly like their manager. So I don't have an objective view. So I'm quite happy to see them struggle. But that's me being mean-spirited. But you would, for the Tottenham fans, who are plenty of my friends are Tottenham fans, you've gone to Brentford. You've been battered. You could have got beat 7.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't.
The 150th anniversary test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army.
Now, how does an all-paid trip to Melbourne, Australia sound? 7 nights of it, in fact. talkSPORT are sending one lucky listener and a mate down under this March. Thanks to Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army, you could be at the MCG watching England take on Australia at the 150th anniversary test match. We're talking 5-day match tickets, 7 nights hotel, an exclusive pre-match function with cricket legends, and a day trip to the Great Ocean Road with return flight, spending money included. Head to talksportwin.com. Head to talksportwin.com right now to enter for full terms and conditions. I thank you. Here's a question for you. Should the UK still aspire to host a World Cup tournament? Or do the scars, Simon, of the previous bid run too deep? The reason I ask is that Britain, the UK, preparing to bid for either the 2038 or the 2042 World Cup, with the Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, viewing the tournament as an opportunity to drive investment, tourism and regeneration beyond London. Britain hasn't hosted the Men's World Cup since England won it back in 1966. Scandalous. So, is it time to go for one of these two, 2038 or 2042? So, this morning, this fella passed through the offices, the leader of Reform UK, one Nigel Farage. And I thought, let's ask him if he backs Burnham in terms of bidding for 2038 or 2042. But we began, Farage and myself, talking about Gianni Infantino at FIFA, the president, and whether or not, in his view, Infantino should carry on.
I think he went to America for the World Cup. He was fated by the American president, by huge billionaires, and I think the dollar signs got stuck in his eyes, embedded into his brain, and all he could think about was money, 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 not just for the sport, but for himself as well, and he's caused one of the biggest ruptures in World Cup football that we've ever seen. His position is now wholly unsustainable. He has to go.
He has to go. Andy Burnham has said, it's time up. You would say the same.
I would. And, look, America's a different place. And suddenly you're surrounded by some of the richest and most powerful people in the world. And he's been corrupted by it. I have no doubt about it.
Were you amazed, as many were, that he acted upon, reportedly, Donald Trump's phone call and said, let Balogun play in that match against Belgium?
Well, it was pretty remarkable stuff, wasn't it? Look, Trump is a friend of mine. Trump acts in his own way. Trump is very good at getting what he wants. But it wasn't a particularly great advert for World Cup football, let's be frank.
Nigel, before you leave us, Andy Burnham, again, has said the UK should bid for either the 2038 World Cup or the 2042 World Cup. Do you agree?
I agree, but I would like to know that we wouldn't get appalling incidents such as the ones I witnessed at Wembley a couple of years ago in the European final. I was walking into Wembley as the gates were smashed down, and frankly, the whole thing was inadequate. You had people drunk, drugged out of their minds. You had so-called security guards, they're probably almost as old as me. It was badly done. So, look, we did prove in the Olympics back in 2012 that we can do this properly. I'd love to see a serious bid for the World Cup, but we're going to have to reassure people we can actually handle it.
Do you agree with that, Simon? Nigel Farage is saying, yeah, I'd love to see the UK bid for 2038 or 2042, but first, we've got to get the public on side that the UK can do it right.
Oh, no, the public will be on side. He's talking about the people that are going to vote for it in terms of the FIFA Congress that will determine how the World Cups are awarded. And we have issues in every country. The fact that we had a European Championship that was badly managed, badly policed, bad organisation by the London mayor that allowed a stadium to be 2/3 empty, that wasn't policed properly and wasn't guarded properly is the real issue. And that's potentially the point that Nigel's making. But the fact that we have the most powerful domestic football league in the world, the fact that we are, in lots of people's minds, certainly our own as well, to some extent the home of football in terms of the origination of it, albeit it was originated in Scotland. It is in so many people's minds. Wembley's the centerpiece of world football, alongside places like the Maracanã. How do I pronounce it? Maracanã.
Yeah.
And so yes, I would like us to see. I mean, obviously the 2012 World Cup bid was, a big hullabaloo with David Dean, Lord Tresman saying things that probably didn't help us, and a circumstance of the way that the World Cups were all ordered to Russia, to Qatar, that are just beyond the pale.
The scars run deep still, don't they? From that failed attempt. Well, because that was an embarrassment.
Well, it was a little bit, yeah, because we were showboating and putting on a parade, and we were nowhere near it.
And then we went to Russia, and then it went to Qatar.
And with that in mind, that's primarily because RFA has had certain relationships over the years with FIFA, with various organisations that, let's be honest about it, FIFA was founded by Sir Stanley Rouse, who's an Englishman that sat on top of the original FIFA. So we should have been in a box seat. So yes, I most certainly would. I think that we are undoubtedly able to host tournaments. Comparing it to the Olympics is not a legitimate comparison, because the Olympics doesn't produce the tribalism and the relationships that football does, because it's not the world's biggest sport, athletics. Football is. But of course we should have it. Of course we should bid for it. Of course we should be able to turn it into an economically viable proposition that doesn't just require us building white elephants of stadiums that subsequently get left for other people to take advantage of. And we saw that back in the day when White City was built. We've seen that with the stadium that was built, that West Ham now occupies as a football club. We've seen it repeatedly. It needs to be something that does exactly what it says on the tin. It does exactly what the Americans tried to achieve, which was monetize it for their own benefit.
Can Infantino really withstand all this noise, incidentally?
Someone's got.
Burnham's calling for him to go. Yeah. There's Farage.
He's not. There's an irony in that. He's not even an elected prime minister, is he? So let's get that into context. But the idea that he can withstand it, probably it's untenable. But out of the ether comes what and who, because there needs to be someone to stand against him. There needs to be something that rivals it.
Yeah.
At this moment in time, we're not seeing anybody. I don't know why. Why isn't Ceferin wanting to stand for it? Why wouldn't Wenger get himself involved in potentially running FIFA? Because there would be a very easy bridge into that space for Wenger, being a football operator, a football person with football thinking, sitting on top, and certainly the capability, the mental agility and capability and wherewithal to be able to understand all the processes that are involved in running a sport of this significance, because it is much bigger than people give it credit for. So all those things in mind, but football makes its own rules. It makes its own governance. So the fact that Nigel or Andy Burnham or XYZ politician who, by the way, we don't really want too near the sport, do we? With respect to Nigel, who I quite like. He's a Crystal Palace fan. I've known Nigel for years. I don't always agree with his political views, but I think he's a great orator. And I think he's challenging the orthodoxy, which will be better for lots of reasons.
Yeah.
Whether he gets elected to Prime Minister or not.
The thing is, if Infantino holds on, though, Simon, you can kiss goodbye to the UK getting 2038 or 2042 anytime soon.
Maybe. I mean, that's the narrative that we would like to suggest. It would be a challenge because the English FA, the German FA, the Spanish FA, the Italian FA, all French FA have all come out and vilified him. We'll see how that plays out in the longer game. I mean, Infantino, if nothing else, if he's able to weather this storm, will be kept on the straight and narrow a little bit more. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And he's right, Nigel. He's right when you get near pound notes, as he knows in his current challenges, because he's just taken 5 million quid off somebody. So he knows the value of a pound note and how much it can alter people's thinkings and what will make you do certain things. So he can't be surprised that Infantino operates in a certain way. But I've said that all along. Infantino and football is operating in a certain way. What we need is to make it more transparency, because it doesn't really belong to FIFA. The game doesn't belong to anybody. If anything, it belongs to the people that play it and the people that watch it. And we've got to get the balance right between those that have created this wonderful landscape, because it isn't really... Because when the Premier League came along, and I'm going off on a tangent, football was broken. The broadcasters didn't want to pay any money for football, really. In the 80s, they deemed it as an unpalatable sport that no one wanted to watch. All the stadiums were falling down.
Yeah.
There was racism rife in it. Everything was decaying.
No,
Clubs were
can't
going
get enough
bankrupt.
of it.
But the problem is, football players didn't create that value. Administrators and people that ran football clubs that went to broadcast deals and did deals with Rupert Murdoch created the value. And now, ironically, the people that got all the value from it are now telling you they want to run the game differently.
Yeah.
Just curious. It's an alternate view.
Okay, we're coming up to 12 noon this Tuesday lunchtime. A lot to get in the final hour. Ben Fletcher's on the way with the latest news. For the record, we've had 7 different Premier League winners.
Over 33 years, over 34 years.
But this time...
Wow.
But this time, Simon, do you not agree that this is probably the most competitive ever Premier League season on the horizon?
For participation, not for winning. You're going to be one of the 4 clubs that has the biggest turnovers is going to win the league. Aston Villa are not going to win the league. Newcastle are not going to win the league.
So how do you explain Leicester when they did it?
A rare and absolute anomaly that was never allowed to happen again, because all the big clubs sat on their hands, suddenly decided that they could all do things in a certain way, and they got caught with their pants down, even to the way that they allowed Leicester to play. Everybody knew how Leicester played. Drinkwater gets the ball, looks up, knocks it long for Vardy, and yet on the last game of the season they were doing the same thing, and teams were still playing the same way against them. So don't ask me how I explain that situation, but it's not going to be repeated, and it hasn't been repeated since, and that was now a decade ago. So who's won the league since then, and who won the league prior to that?
So tell me straight, how many teams this time around do you feel can aspire to win the Premier League?
2, 3. But that doesn't mean the league's not competitive. The argument, why would you
talkSPORT Sports Update with NordVPN, our fastest, most advanced VPN for digital privacy and security.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. Is Savinho, a.k.a. Savio, worth £75 million? That's what Spurs are paying City, plus £10 million in add-ons. For a man with 2 Premier League goals and 9 assists in 53 games, is our very own Simon Jordan.
Players are being bought left, right and centre for that kind of money. And so when we talk about the spend patterns and what might have been spent a few years ago, the market is really different. And it's now, for the clubs that have the ability to spend, there appears to be no barrier that they won't cross.
Meanwhile, Liverpool's Cody Gakpo could still go to Tottenham. We're told Bradley Barcola's potential arrival at Anfield would help.
So it could be that Liverpool are now willing to cash in on Gakpo in order to facilitate this move for Bradley Barker. I think in an ideal world, they want 2 more forward players before sanctioning the sale of Cody Gakpo.
talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook there. He's labelled reports City could sign Gakpo as unlikely. World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit isn't convinced players can dictate regime change at FIFA, but he does think they should help choose the president.
We never ask the players to be involved into the elections. They are playing, they are making the whole business on the pitch, and we don't ask them their opinion about who's going to rule their world.
Pressure's increased on Gianni Infantino from some of the world's greatest footballers. Graham Dott's been removed from World Snooker's Hall of Fame after he was found guilty of child sex abuse. He'll be sentenced next month. And Rugby League all-time great Sir Billy Boston has died, aged 92. Last year, the Welshman became the first player in the sport's history to be knighted. Sir Billy Boston was part of Great Britain's World Cup winning side in 1960 and scored 478 times in 488 games for Wigan.
talkSPORT News.
A British reporter has managed to board a small migrant boat to the UK, exposing border force chaos, and police claim young people are baiting them with dangerous driving. More from Sinead at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Keep summer journeys safe. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com to book your tyres, MOTs and servicing so you can drive away happy every time.
Dry with sunny spells for most of us. Wet weather on the way into the southwest.
Good afternoon, everybody. 4 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. We're also live on your TV, live on YouTube, Prime Video, Samsung TV Plus. Whatever you want to watch the show, you can watch it live between 10 and 1 weekdays with us. We're coming to you live from the 17th floor of the News Building here at London Bridge. And of course, it's that time. The time that Simon used to not particularly like when he was a football club owner, and many club owners still don't particularly fancy it, but it's a time that big business is done when players go from one club to another, and deadline day looms again just next week. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook joins us live this lunchtime, and as we came on air, Alex, around 10 o'clock or so, it was confirmed. Spurs have added to their ranks Savinho. Are we right? 75 million as the fee, 10 million add-ons.
Yeah, so an £85 million package in total for a player who didn't pull up too many trees at Manchester City last season, I think it's fair to say, but this is someone that Tottenham have been tracking long before Roberto De Zerbi's arrival. They tried to sign him last summer, they tried again in January, and now finally they've got their man. There's a quote from Savinho as he was unveiled at Tottenham saying, "Everybody in my family knows that when Tottenham looked for me, I always wanted to be here." So a chance for him to kickstart his Premier League career. And that might not be the end of Tottenham's spending. We know they're still in talks with City over what would be a potential loan deal initially for Savinho's teammate Omar Marmoush. And I was told this morning they are very much still at the table for Cody Gakpo at Liverpool as well. And you have to say, on the evidence of what we saw at Brentford on the opening day, despite the fact they're the biggest spenders in the Premier League so far this summer, they need more, Tottenham.
But do you buy into that, Simon? I'm a Manchester City player, and it's Tottenham that I always wanted to play for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I believe it. It's the most plausible thing I've ever heard. It's absolutely the direction of travel to go from an elite football club to one that's set 17th in the league. That's, of course, where you'd want to go. Is it just a curious one for you that a caller mentioned it earlier on about the idea that there was a bigger sell-on one player at Man City than another, and the reasons why Savinho was going out at an inflated price. Mamouche would go at a discounted price because the margin of sell-on was bigger on one player than the other. Is that someone talking about something that sounds sensible, or is it a mile away?
It's certainly been floated, Simon. Obviously a difficult one to prove, but it does feel like a very hefty fee for Savinho, and maybe in comparison, a relatively cheap deal. We understand it will be a loan with a £50 million obligation for Marmoush. And I think there's probably an argument to be made that Marmoush is the better of the two players.
And are we close to completion regarding Manchester City taking Lille's Moroccan midfielder, 18-year-old Ayoub Bouadi? Is that is that as good as done?
Yeah, I believe so, Jim. We're just awaiting official confirmation. Again, hefty fee involved, 100 million euros in total for one of the standout players from the World Cup, but still relatively inexperienced. I think the interesting one when it comes to Manchester City is when they make their move for Enzo Fernandez. Came off the bench for Chelsea against Fulham last night, booed by the Fulham fans, but quite a warm reception from the Chelsea fans in contrast to when he played that pre-season friendly at Stamford Bridge. But Manchester City, as I understand it, just waiting to make their move. And I think this Fernandes deal from Chelsea to Manchester City could still well happen in what is now the final week of the window.
That's right. It's boiling up nicely, isn't it? Last summer we saw Liam Delap go from Ipswich to Chelsea. He's on the point of being out of Chelsea, is he?
He is. This is a story we broke exclusively last night on talkSPORT. Liam Delap closing in on a move to Nottingham Forest. There's been a lot of interest in Delap from the likes of Leeds and Everton and clubs overseas as well. He rejected Cesc Fabregas's Como because he wanted to stay in the Premier League. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if this is a loan deal with an obligation, but Chelsea looking for a £40 million fee. And I think Oliver Glasner is the type of manager who can get the best out of Liam Delap. I would suggest this is probably the move he should have made last summer rather than jumping from Ipswich straight to Chelsea. I know it's a difficult move to turn down, but I think this could be a good signing for Nottingham Forest.
He was a player, he caught the eye, he caught your eye, Simon, didn't he?
I really like Liam. I think he's a really good player. I think it's an unfortunate set of circumstances that enabled him to probably be slightly dispirited at Chelsea and going to Forest as a sort of ready-made replacement. He's cut from the same cloth as Chris Wood, but 10 years younger.
Yeah.
And so he gives them that sort of circumstance. You know, Chris Wood is a good player, but I don't think you're ever going to see a season from Chris Wood that he had a couple of years ago where he just, everything he hit went in the back of the net and his shot-to-goal ratio was ridiculous. But Liam Delap, you know, is a good player and is a better player. And he is a player, I know people will laugh at it, that could be part of the future of England's ability to produce another centre forward because he's got the capabilities. You've seen it. He was a good player at Manchester City, a young player that went to Ipswich, did well at Ipswich, and he's a good player. He's a technically good player and a very strong player, and he could be, you know, a centre forward for the future for England. Should be.
Alex, Ollie Watkins is a good player, but it would seem that Ollie Watkins has a desire to leave Villa and go to the Saudi Pro League and was absent at the weekend, and all sorts of conjecture as a result of that. Where are we at with Watkins at the back of noon this Tuesday lunchtime?
Well, Unai Emery didn't exactly pour cold water on the suggestion that Watkins had refused to play. He's back in training. We understand that he's made an apology to his teammates for not featuring at the weekend. So that suggests that indeed he didn't want to play. I think this move to Al Hilal is pretty much agreed now, subject to Aston Villa finding a replacement. And I can tell you, Jim, I've had confirmation in the last 10 minutes or so. Villa's opening bid for Jean-Philippe Mateta, believed to be in the region of 20 to 25 million pounds. That's my information anyway. Rejected by Crystal Palace. So clearly they're looking around. Nicholas Jackson is another potential option, although that might be difficult because under UEFA rules, if you sell a player to a club, as they did with Morgan Rogers, and you buy someone from that club within a 45-day time frame, it goes down as a swap deal. So financially, that would impact both Villa and Chelsea. So you can understand maybe why they're looking elsewhere. And Mateta is going to be a fascinating case study in the last week or so, as he was in January when he was trying to force his way to Milan. He has complained, as I'm told, to both the Premier League and to FIFA because he's trying to claim the last year of his contract at Crystal Palace is invalid. He's lost both those cases. His relationship with Palace is okay. I think they're blaming his advisors more than they're blaming Jean-Philippe Mateta, but clearly he's still looking to make that move away.
It's all a bit murky, isn't it, Simon? If indeed Ollie Watkins did refuse to play at the weekend, it doesn't reflect well on Ollie, does it?
No, it doesn't. But it'll all be chip paper in a week's time. In the same way that Ivan Toney being banned from football for betting offences, he's forgotten he's playing for England, he's gone to Saudi, he just moves on. He'll go, if they want to buy Mateta, pay some money. They're trying to take advantage of a situation. If you can pay £50 million for Strand Larsen, then you can pay a lot more for Mateta because he has scored a lot of goals for Palace. So they'll try to nick him out of Palace, and Palace will sell him. Of course they'll sell him. The player doesn't want to be there. He wants to go. So that's fine. He's allowed to go, but he's allowed to go on Crystal Palace's terms. He who employs his advisors, has allowed his advisors to try to create jeopardy in this contractual situation. I had no doubt that Palace to some extent would have done that properly, because if it wasn't done properly, then it would have been brought up 2 years ago. I mean, the garden was much smoother and happier then with Mateta, but Palace have every right to try and get a decent transfer fee, and £25 million for a centre forward to a club in the Premier League is not good money.
Yeah, fair enough. Gabriel Martinelli, is he or is he not out of Arsenal? What are we thinking?
Well, I've been speaking to my colleague Ben Jacobs this morning, obviously all over events in Saudi Arabia. He suggests that there is an agreement in place now between Al Hilal and Arsenal. We're waiting for confirmation from Arsenal and indeed what that transfer fee will be. I'd imagine it will be in the €60 million mark. And yeah, he was quite vocal, wasn't he, Ian Wright? And Simon hit back yesterday about Arsenal's treatment of Martinelli, not featured in the first couple of squads. I do think it's a bit of a sad end for a player who's played a big part in their success in recent seasons, but it looks like this move will happen. So it could be 2 Premier League players bound for Al Hilal. Simon Francis, former technical director at Bournemouth, very much in charge of the transfers there, and obviously is targeting the Premier League.
Yeah.
But listen, players' relationships with clubs end how they end. But there's no football integrity in these moves. So they lose me when they start going to Saudi to play in a pub league that pays you enormous amounts of money, and its only draw is it pays you enormous amounts of money. So when we start talking about the credibility of these players and how valuable they are, and then we start and how good they are and what they're entitled to, and then we see them move to a Saudi, they're not even trying to go to a bigger football club. They're not trying to ply their trade and be the best version of themselves as footballers. They're going for the money. Nothing wrong with that. But then we've got to stop the silly narrative of he's a short career, or it's, they're being handled badly. The mentality of a player that is now wanting to go and play in the Saudi Pro League is a player that doesn't want to play competitive football. They want to enhance their bank balance.
Yeah.
So let's draw that parallel first before we start feeling sympathy for the players about how they may or may not be treated by
Alex,
the clubs that own their registration.
Julian Alvarez doesn't fancy the Saudi Pro League, certainly not yet, but it would seem that he wouldn't mind a move to Barcelona or maybe Arsenal. Hence, he was booed by Atletico Madrid fans, his own fans at the weekend. So where is it going to be?
Well, he wants to go to Barcelona, Jim, but Atletico don't want to do that deal. Hence the fact they left him out at the weekend and almost created this sideshow where he was jeered by his own supporters. I think they're trying to force him to accept this offer from Arsenal. So far, as I understand it, Arsenal have not been given any indication or encouragement that Alvarez wants to come back to the Premier League. He does have a relationship with the sporting director, Andrea Berta, who masterminded his move from City to the Spanish capital. It's one to watch. I would say there's a small percentage chance that Arsenal get this deal done in the final week of the window. But if we get into the final couple of days and Atletico insist on their stance, they don't want to sell to a Spanish rival, then maybe Alvarez's mind could be changed. I certainly think he'd be a really good addition to what already looks to me a very strong Arsenal side, and one that are more than capable of retaining the Premier League title.
Alex, we'll finish off with this. You wrote an opinion piece on the talkSPORT website. In your belief, Manchester United have sold Michael Carrick short so far. What do you want to tell us?
Well, obviously, they've focused on the midfield area. We're expecting official confirmation of Carlos Baliba's £70 million move from Brighton. They've already signed Andre Santos and Yuri Tielemans, so the midfield looks a lot stronger. They focused on the attack last summer, but it's defensively, for me, where he's been sold short. I looked at the back four, even before they kicked off against Hull, and actually I texted someone on the whole staff and said that United back four is very gettable, and so it proved with Hull coming out deserved 2-0 winners. Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, 2 of the back four, both played in Eric Ten Hag's second game in charge. You may remember them were demolished 4-0 at Brentford a few years ago. The fact they're still first choice members of the back four, I think, tells you that United haven't sufficiently invested in defence. They definitely need cover for sure. There's talk of Balder at Barcelona, but Barcelona want €45 million. United would prefer a loan deal. There's no guarantees they bring in a left back or even anybody else after Baleba in the final week of the window. And I think if that is the case, then it's not been a very good transfer window, and they look a million miles away from getting anywhere near Arsenal and maybe even being able to challenge for the top four. That was a wretched performance from Manchester United. In my opinion, too many of the players have been there for too long and are almost used to losing football matches. It shouldn't be the United way.
Just out of curiosity, I would imagine that Michael Carrick is involved in deciding what he does and doesn't need. So why is it that the club has sold him short when he is making decisions with the club? And if the priority is, as you suggest, to deal with the defensive side of the requirements, then Carrick hasn't been sold short. He sold himself short.
Well, from what I understand, I think you have to listen to his mate Wayne Rooney when he comes out and says that he's been sold short, and we know how close they are. Michael Carrick is pushing for reinforcements in the last week of the window. I think particularly in that left-back area, Lewis Hall would be the dream target, but that looks like a move that could happen next summer now as opposed to now. So I think what you'll see is a very frustrated Michael Carrick if they don't get bodies in. Having said that, I think one of his big strengths is he's very good at managing upwards. So whether he's actually going to make that information public and come out in the media and say it, I think it's probably doubtful because he conducts himself so well in the press. But I think if you spoke to Michael Carrick privately, he would say United need more, particularly when they're going to be playing Champions League football. Their success last season under him, at times they were playing one game every 3 weeks.
Do you expect him to be successful? I think that Carrick's job starts now. I think the audition was the audition and the job in earnest, and Michael Carrick being capable of being the Man United manager is not defined by the car crash that Amorim left him, that everyone could look better as a result of afterwards, with a group of players that like Carrick, that will respond to Carrick in the short term. Do you come down the same perspective as me, that this is now when his job starts, and it'll be interesting to see whether he can cope with it?
Very much so, and particularly after what I witnessed at the stadium at the weekend, my first visit to the MKM, because that was as bad as anything we saw under the likes of Ruben Amorim and Erik ten Hag, and it did look like a lot of those United players, particularly the ones who've been there for a long time, had reverted to type.
Well, Carrick's got a problem, Alex, if they lose to Ipswich at the weekend, that is for sure. Thank you so much. Alex Crook with us live, and Alex will be alongside me, of course, and we'll be all over deadline day come the time. Right now, you're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. It's where the trade go.
We're due to talk about Spurs now. O'Hara was meant to be here, Jason Cundy, but apparently he's bottled his chance to plug your show. What? If you're not watching but listening, you've put on a Jamie O'Hara mask. Is that a new thing? I mean, that's quite horrific.
I don't know what it looks like. How does it look?
What do you think it looks like?
No, I can't see myself. Does it look like O'Hara?
Have a look at the monitor.
By the time I do that, I turn away.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it looks ghastly, and I never use that word. Yeah. Have you put it on before?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I've worn it before.
It's
so
vile.
Weird. It's so weird.
Yeah. So do you want to pretend he's here?
I can pretend he's here.
Okay, let's
Shambles! Shambles!
Good team. Why is he not here? I heard he stormed out the studio again yesterday.
Last night, obviously.
Soon it's going to be more of a shock if he's
I talk about Spurs.
Take the mask off, for God's sake. Yeah.
Honestly, when we talk...
Oh, put it back, put it back.
Put it on. I love getting into him about Spurs. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And he was saying if they buy Savinho and Mamouche, they're guaranteed top four, top two. And I'm like, come on, mate, come on. The Ange mask will come out, and it just grew legs and arms. The thing, and it just exploded.
You got many more masks?
No, yeah, we've got Benty mask.
Have you?
No, you don't. No.
Don't wear him in a bank.
Do you know what happened though? Here's what happened with the Ange mask. We bought it last season when he took over at Forest, and we ordered it.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary Test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT, Visit Victoria could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for two to watch the 150th anniversary Test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
It is Tuesday lunchtime. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com. Talking about checking out, we might be checking out at Match of the Day soon, because Match of the Day is an institution for sure as a television programme, Simon. But is its day's numbers? Are its day's numbers? You look at it and you think, well, and some pundits are suggesting, could it go the same way as Football Focus if the BBC is not careful? It comes amidst reports of a mutiny, no less, at Match of the Day, with pundits leaving for podcasts and a drive for digital growth on social media. Mark Lawrenson, for one, has warned that Match of the Day could go the same way as Football Focus. He believes retaining authoritative pundits like Alan Shearer is crucial to the programme's future. He says, this is Lawrenson, Match of the Day is one of the BBC's crown jewels and a show I'm proud to have been part of. But without care, it deserves it will go in the same way as Football Focus. Without the care it deserves, it will go the same way as Football Focus.
I think that's right.
Is that right?
Well, I think there's an element of that's right. Of course, if Mark was still sitting on the show, he probably wouldn't be saying this. But there is an element of that, but there's no reason for it to go the same way as Football Focus. There was a comment made by the BBC chairman talking about the necessity to replicate some of the things that were on Football Focus in Match of the Day and make it more about talk. And I thought that was an absolutely absurd thing to say.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think that Match of the Day is a very good show. I think, like every show in the world, if you don't have good talent on there, then you are not going to have a good product.
Sure.
So Shearer...
Shearer's good.
Shearer's good.
Wayne Rooney's good.
I think Wayne's
gone now, isn't he?
I think Wayne's getting much better. The digital landscape is, of course, undermining linear broadcasting. It is decimating linear broadcasting. And the figures that you get now of that once upon a time you turn on EastEnders and 20 million people would watch it, those days have gone. But digital is still underpinned to some extent by the credibility of mainstream media. And so the good pundits that land in mainstream media and do digital as well will still want mainstream media to cede some of their credibility and viability and validity so that they can do the digital stuff.
What do you think Mark means when he says, without the care it deserves, Match of the Day, it will go the same way as Football Focus?
Well, because the way that Football Focus went, when I wrote articles about Football Focus, with due respect to the people that were involved, I thought it was a very poor show, that was very poorly presented, and the editorial was poor. It was more about virtue signalling and woke rubbish rather than actual subject matter that people wanted to listen to. They hid behind the fact that there was other broadcasters that were doing other things, that were games. Let me tell you what people watch. What's good. And they don't mind watching it when something else is on. They don't mind watching it on behind the red button and replaying it and proving it from a different forum. And they don't like bad content. So the reason why Football Focus was eventually wound down is not for all the excuses that they've made, which is that, oh, there's live football on, there's other ways of watching football, the world moved on, is because the content was poor, the presenter wasn't great, and the subject matter became something that people didn't want to hear or watch anymore. So, and when that day comes for us, we'll be shuffled out the door as well.
Absolutely.
But right now, that's not our circumstance, and it was theirs. Now, if they replicate that kind of thinking, where they put people in positions that shouldn't be there, they start steering content into things that people don't want to watch, then you're going to find that Match of the Day, which is a blueprint show for the BBC around the world, which underpins the value and actually was the cornerstone of the broadcast deals. The reason why the Premier League was able to launch was because it still had a terrestrial deal with the BBC, which underpinned and seeded Sky's opportunity in 1992, because without the Match of the Day vehicle, they would never have got the awareness that ultimately got the subscriptions for Sky.
Is Match of the Day still as prestigious?
Yes. And but if we get people like Mark Lawrence telling us not, then eventually people will believe it. It does need to be handled with care. The lessons that can be learnt from the Football Focus demise, which in its own right, when the people that presented that show over the years, which was an iconic show that we grew up watching and liking and listening to Bob Wilson that went on to Des Lynam and whoever else ran that show. It was a great show. It was the precursor to the weekend. Yes, I know that the audience has been challenged now by a different way of watching television, but people still watch the BBC. People still enjoy watching the BBC if it was good, and if the Football Focus show was good, it would still be on now, and it wasn't. So if Match of the Day does the same thing as Football Focus, it'll be off. If it doesn't, if it protects the values, looks after good talents, grows an next set of talents that are going to say meaningful, insightful things, doesn't bore us to death. I do think there's a paralysis by analysis. I do think some of the analysis is a bit repetitive, and the football is the primary factor that we want to watch with a little bit of analysis and interesting people that say insightful things. And Shearer's bold. Wayne Rooney's becoming a really good observer.
Yeah.
We've got past the part, and we're now into a situation where he's actually saying things, and he's bold about saying it. Murphy is a great observer, and they're good pundits, so it has real value in that space.
But do the top pundits still want to go in it? Lawrenson's got a point here, Simon.
The way the BBC pays, yeah, probably.
My worry is that there are now so many vehicles out there for the most insightful pundits, especially with the growth of podcasts such as Gary Lineker's. Why would anyone feel an obligation to stay if they're worried about the direction of Match of the Day?
Well, first and foremost, who is worried about it besides you, Mark? Second of all, the digital landscape is what it is, and it's an irresistible force. And if you've seen some of the digital content, it's proper garbage. And I watched some of the rest of football stuff over the World Cup, and it was a cure for insomnia. Well done for Netflix. We're paying a lot of money for it, but they didn't get great content. The bottom line is that good content is good content. And there is a value in the BBC.
Yeah.
And I know that we've got big arguments about what the BBC's political impartiality. I know we've had arguments about the nature of the way that people behaved on those shows, Lineker included, and Ian Wright and all that motley crew. The bottom line is that it's still a good product, and if you get good pundits on there, then you'll have good outcomes. If you don't, and you allow it to disappear into what Football Focus became, then it will become a thing of the past, and that'll be sad.
You can see the highlights of matches, can't you? A few hours before Match of the Day itself.
Sure.
So what remains the true value of Match of the Day in those terms?
Well, it's distribution opportunity via the BBC. The fact that the BBC is a worldwide brand that doesn't just sell into the UK, and the fact that it has good punditry that can be multifaceted, that can do its own thing. Pundits, ask Shearer why he's working on Match of the Day. Ask him, he'll tell you.
But does the Premier League still need Match of the Day?
No, of course it doesn't.
No.
But that's not the point, is it? The point is that Match of the Day is an entity.
You said it was key.
No, I said it was
when the Premier League started.
No, I said it was key in '92, and it's a fact. If the highlights package hadn't been negotiated, then the awareness of the Premier League would never have got the traction, and so Sky would have never got the opportunities they've got.
Is it still key?
No, of course not. But is it valuable? We don't expect the same numbers. We don't. When you watch television shows now, the numbers that people are getting now that are getting excited about would have been laughed at 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because the people are watching their content differently. Good content will supersede the availability of bad content.
Right.
Because you can go onto social media and onto the digital world, and we can listen to people screaming at Man United. Fantastic. That's what you want to watch, and watch-alongs and all that sort of stuff. That's an audience, and well done to them for that. But if you've got good punditry, and you've got the next generation of good pundits that come behind Shearer, the next generation of players that want to cut their teeth in this space, is it challengeable? Yes. Is it under threat? Yes. Does it need to raise its game or keep its game at a high level? Yes, it does.
Good content. We should think about that, shouldn't we?
Somewhere along the line, we might get some.
12:30.
Michael, where are you with Isaac at this moment? I just think that particular penalty, Szoboszlai was always taking it, and likes of Isaac had far more to lose than he had to gain by taking that penalty. But where are you with Isaac at this moment in time? And he looks to me, he's obviously had big injury problems and all that stuff. The move was well documented. Newcastle fans are unhappy. What's it going to take for him to get playing with a regular confidence and show the ability that we know he has?
Well, I'm not sure about you, Ali, but I had plenty of injuries in my career, so I know how hard it is to get back, and you do need a bit of time. And everybody's given him time and understood that, but then he's sort of finished the season, then he's gone to the World Cup, and now he's had a pre-season, and you just think, okay, now we're starting to run out of excuses. We need to start seeing the real Isak, and we know how good he is. I mean, wow, we saw him for Newcastle. I mean, he's absolute class. But we haven't seen it for Liverpool just yet, and I think questions will come now. As I say, always give him the benefit of the doubt in the past with Liverpool, but at the start of this season now we're expecting, and Liverpool absolutely need him. They've lost Salah, Ekitike's...
talkSPORT News.
Good afternoon. With your headlines, I'm Sinead Garvan. A British undercover reporter's become the first journalist to cross the Channel in a migrant dinghy. Christian Drogan posed as a British criminal and met a smuggler through TikTok before spending 8 days in a camp in northern France and eventually making the journey. He claims many migrants don't pay up front to cross the Channel, but are then tied to slave labour.
One guy, he's been living in Turkey, so not exactly fleeing war or persecution. He's been living in Turkey. He's met some guy who said, oh yeah, if you want to go to the UK, I'll pay for your ticket, but when you get to the UK, you've got to do some work for me.
The full investigation is being released exclusively today on Talk. The Home Office spokesperson said this individual's actions were reckless. Elsewhere today, a man's died and another woman is in a critical condition after a car crash during a police chase in Warwickshire. Officers were attempting to stop a black Audi when it hit a white Ford yesterday evening. It comes in the wake of the A66 collision in which 7 people, including 2 officers, were killed. The Police Federation say young people are baiting them with dangerous driving. It's understood 4 out of the 5 in that car had previous convictions. And a weather alert for thunderstorms will come into force in the early hours of tomorrow morning. The Met Office is warning of flash flooding for central and eastern parts of England from 3 a.m. until 10 p.m.
Talk Sport Sports Headlines with Bostik. For professional grade sealants with easy application and a perfect finish, pros trust Bostik.
Savinho to Spurs, but is he worth upwards of 75 million? And Rugby League remembers Sibylle Boston. Ben's got more at 1.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to TalkSport and Visit Victoria, you could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for 2 to watch the 150th anniversary test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
It is Tuesday lunchtime. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. We're live on Talk Sport. If you're a fan of West Ham, and there are many of them are not very happy with what they're seeing. Even at this early stage in the season, West Ham, of course, we know, were relegated from the Premier League, and it's life in the Championship for them. They followed up their opening day draw at Burnley with a 2-1 defeat at home to Charlton, Simon, at the weekend. Charlton Chief Exec Jim Rodwell, I think, is going to be stopping by sometime this week here in studio. We'll speak to him then. But at the moment, on West Ham, they have problems on the horizon. And Nuno was the first one to admit, hasn't gone right in the pitch so far.
Cannot thank them enough. It's disappointed, but it's us who failed today. Was us. We failed them. We failed them, and we should apologize. But humbly ask for them to believe and keep supporting like they are doing.
I mean, they have problems, do they not?
How did
we failed them?
How did Ipswich start last year in the Championship? Not very well, and they got promoted. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. But in this instance, it's slightly different because Ipswich were priced in to get relegated and duly got relegated. So it wasn't the same sort of circumstances as West Ham that have been in the Premier League for 14 years, expected to be an established Premier League football club. And of course, winners of the European Conference League, that meaningful tournament that Palace won last year. Look at it.
Wish he won it.
Exactly. I'm being facetious and plauditory in the same context. Look, I think that it's not ideal to, the first game of the season, they were 2-0 up against Burnley. Burnley are a legitimate rival. Burnley are another relegated Premier League football club that have got decent resources. They're expected to be up there. So going up to Burnley, despite being 2-0 up and disappointed to allow yourself to get Burnley to get back in the game, is a decent result in the first game of the season. First game of the season, away to a relegated side that have got the same aspirations as you, go and get a point, despite being 2-0 up, not a bad result. Getting beat at home by Charlton, that's a bad result. But it's not a crisis. It's not a catastrophe. It will sort itself out. Despite the fact that the ghastly fellow that used to text you about Nuno Espirito being the wrong manager, Barry Silkman, was right in the end because he got them relegated. He was right.
Barry Silkman, the former agent.
Yeah, he was
Hi, Barry.
right. Yeah.
Ghastly fella. They can go pear-shaped very quickly, though, if they're not careful. I mean, they've got Southampton tonight in the EFL Cup.
That's what it is, the EFL Cup.
They got Watford at the weekend in the Championship. We know that's a brutal division. All of a sudden, Nuno's excuses will run dry.
But he's not. I don't think he's putting any excuses out there. And I don't think he's putting any excuses out last year. I mean, we're saying he's put excuses out. He's not saying there's any excuses. He's determined it's not good enough. We've got to get better and we let people down. So I think he's capable of doing that. And if you've got a vision in the man, unless he's suddenly changed overnight and you don't see that he's capable of delivering, you've got to be patient and stop the nonsense of panicking after 2 games. I've just given you the 2 games. I didn't see West Ham against Charlton. I didn't see how good Charlton were. I mean, they might have been really good on the day.
When you get relegated, and I'm enjoying this conversation with you.
We lost our first game of the season against Luton. I remember saying in the dressing room after getting beat by Scabby.
You remember saying in the dressing room?
I remember saying...
Sorry, say that again?
I remember saying to the players after we got relegated...
In the dressing room?
Yeah, after we got relegated from the Premier League and we were all desperately disappointed. I walked into the dressing room and said to the players, however you feel now, does it hurt? Does it sting? Does it make you feel bad? Yeah, we'll take it on the first team that we play next season because we're coming back up next year. Left them with that. We played Luton first game of the season. We just got promoted from League One and got beat. Right, so that was Luton's cup final in terms of just coming out of League One. They'd been out of the fray for a long time because they'd been a club in disarray. They come up to the Championship. We're the relegated Premier League side, keeping the England striker Andy Johnson and spending another fortune on players, and we lose our first game of the season. Was there a panic? No, we got to the playoffs at the end of the season. Okay, we were crap in the playoffs semi-final, lost, but we got there. So my point is that you've got to keep your nerve. You've got to believe in what you believe in, and the background noise is irrelevant. All us in the studio that sit there flapping our gums about what's going on don't know. The only people that do know are the ones that are setting the team up, know what they've got, and they've got to believe in it.
So after you lost to Luton, what happened in the second game?
I can't remember. I just remember, as a matter of point, that because I'd written about it... That
you were away at Wolves.
Did we lose that as well?
Is it coming back to you?
No.
We lost 2-1.
Did we? So there you go. So the first 2 games... Oh, there's a crisis at Crystal Palace.
Right.
They've come down. They've lost their first 2 games.
Yeah.
All the wheels are coming off. We finished 4th or 5th in the league that year.
The third game... Norwich. Did you win that one?
Christ knows.
No, you didn't. You drew it.
There you go. 1 point out of 3. Crisis.
One thing I want to put to you, and I don't know where you stand on this, but 1 or 2 managers are beginning to get slightly irritated by it. Should ex-players be held to the same benchmark as journalists, or are they doing a completely different job? The reason I'm going to bring this up is that 2 post-match interviews this weekend sparked conversation around those players moving from punditry into interviewing managers. Should they be doing that? For example, and I know this fella, Jan Arge Fjortoft. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Former Norwegian international.
Well, we spoke to him, didn't we, in advance of the Norwegian game in the World Cup, yeah?
We did indeed. After Manchester United's defeat at Hull, Jan Arge Fjortoft, former striker, got a somewhat spiky response from Carrick post-match on Viaplay.
I guess in management there are so many buzzwords hanging around like passion, intensity and go for it. But would you accept that there was a lack of passion in the first half?
Oh, come on, that's ridiculous.
There was that's not what you were assessing.
You played football.
Yeah.
You understand, that's a ridiculous thing to say. Just because you get beat doesn't mean you don't care about it.
No, I'm not saying that you cared about it. I think that the thing that get over from, if you look at it, because they came with passion. That's what I mean. And I understand that you care about it. But would you accept that they took you on that front, so to say?
No. The game was, the 2 goals came from set plays. Other than that, we had opportunities. That was where the game was. So I don't think it was passion or anything to do with that. I think it was just their moments that made the difference in the game.
I think the inference there is, well, come on, you played the game.
Well, that's
so you should know.
But what do you? So if a journalist said to him, "You lacked passion," what do you think he'd say? The only thing part of the sentence he probably wouldn't say is, "You played the game." So he would have to say, because if he goes, "Yeah, that's fair enough," he's got a problem, isn't he? Because he's going to have to explain himself.
That's right.
So he's going to have a negative reaction to it. This idea that there is an unwritten law that, and then they all get into this space where they don't dare criticise one another. They don't dare until they've made a decision that they don't need to be in the industry anymore. Then they start talking honestly. Right, I had that conversation with John Terry about coming on with me and Piers and saying to John, John, don't come on in and start fanning about.
Yeah.
You say something or you don't say something.
On the Piers Morgan show.
Yeah, not the Piers Morgan show. Right, on the show that me and Piers did together. Right? The point is, very good, Jim. The point is that there is an unwritten law which is a load of old cobblers. Like, don't go into the dressing room. Don't go into the dressing room because you find yourself bored to death with the nonsense that's going in there. That's why you shouldn't go into the dressing room as an owner. The fact is that if a former player interview says something about another player that's not praising, then it's an absolute taboo. You don't do it. And what happens now is that when players have decided that they've got no future in the game, they don't want to be managers, then they start telling the truth. And they start calling it out as it is. They start going, well, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
And so Rooney's doing that now. Rooney's now speaking his mind. Shearer, is speaking his mind. And that's what people want to see.
Yeah, of course.
They don't want to see the rubbishy old nonsense that gets trotted out by other people that are just trying to be everyone's pals, the drivel that comes out of Daniel Sturridge's mouth or Mika Richards. And they want to hear people that go, this is what it looks like, this is why it could be made better, and this is what it would look like when I was playing for an elite football club like Man United.
Exactly, Manchester United, when you've been a top player, and Peter Schmeichel was a top player, and when you're talking about the club that you played for, should that interviewer, in this case Peter Schmeichel, refer to the club as we, when we did this, when we did that? Because Schmeichel teased the Newcastle manager, Matthias Jassel, around the transfer market.
We're looking at your left back.
Pardon?
We.
Manchester United.
We're looking at your left
chance.
back.
No chance.
No chance.
No chance.
Oh, well, you heard it here. No chance.
It was a bit harmless, wasn't it? We are looking at your left back. We being Manchester United. Your left back's Lewis Hall.
Yeah.
A journalist would not have gone that direction.
No, they wouldn't have
couldn't say we.
They wouldn't have done.
But is it necessarily wrong that a former player...
It's discourteous. It lacks etiquette. That's what I think is wrong with it. Now, whether you think football is beset with etiquette when everyone's trying to cheat and lie their way to opportunities, then maybe you can have that conversation amongst ourselves. But the bottom line is that it lacks courtesy, it lacks etiquette. Peter Schmeichel is supposed to be there. We know his allegiances, so let's not kid ourselves that there isn't an allegiance, an association.
Yeah.
But when you start talking to a manager from the position of being a Manchester United representative in some shape or form and allowing the we conversation to come into your dialogue, and then start kind of insulting the manager by saying, we're going to take your fullback, I think that's a bit rich. And I think if it was done to Man United, say if it was a Real Madrid commentator on there, they'd be offended.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, hold on, where's the etiquette? So I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong to some extent, but I think there's an etiquette issue around it. But, I'm not sure that Peter is beset with etiquette at times. But the bottom line is that the manager handled it with a degree of, who cares what you think?
Yeah, he kind of shrugged it off.
But Jim, it's seeded in the absolute belief that you shouldn't say things if you've played the game. You should protect the cachet and the myth rather than debunk it, and you're not allowed to call people out, because the people that are most equipped to honestly appraise are the ones. The idea that Souness used to have, which is those that haven't cooked the ball shouldn't have an opinion, and he did have it at times, right? And he used to say those things, and we whacked it out of him because that's the lowest form of argument. If you can't beat someone in an argument, you say you haven't played.
Yeah.
Most politicians haven't run businesses, but they still make policies around how the country runs. So let's get it into context, right? But there is more value, and there is more insight in somebody having done something. So I don't like the card, and I try not to do it myself, and I know I do it at times with journalists and stuff, saying, "Where have you ever run?" But there is more valuable insight in knowledge, and knowledge can only be acquired by experience. You can read what other people have said. You can live vicariously through the other people's deeds. But if you've really done it and you know what it feels like to do something,
I get that. But journalists can have an opinion on ownership, club ownership, and don't have to have been an owner themselves.
No, they
to have
can,
that opinion.
but it's not an informed opinion, and it's not an expert opinion. It's just an opinion. And the only difference I have with it, and that you wouldn't invariably disagree with, is it's not often advanced as an opinion. It's advanced as a fact, and it's not a fact. And it's not a narrative. It's not established narrative that Chelsea's policy is to sell as many players out of their academy as possible. That's not an established narrative. It's not an established business protocol. But the way we'll package it up for the purpose of engagement is it is. So I argue with you on those levels.
Yeah.
And then I argue against the context of journalists being in a position of expertise. There's some brilliant writers out there. Martin Samuel, despite sulking and not wanting to come on this show, is a brilliant journalist and writes brilliant articles. And so does Matthew Syed and some of the other journalists who are out there. And
he
they're
was
brilliant.
outside yesterday complimenting the show as we left. Yeah.
He won't come in and talk about things because he doesn't like his articles being pulled to pieces.
He was on recently.
Not with us, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
Was he?
He was. Matthew Syed.
Oh, Matthew Syed. Oh, Matthew Syed, yeah.
Who did you say?
Martin Samuel.
Oh, Martin Samuel, yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, Martin will come on at some stage.
He won't.
I'm quite sure he will. Incidentally, before we leave that subject, are you going to do more of Piers Morgan's shows?
Am I going to do more shows with Piers Morgan?
You're a contributor on it.
No. That's where you'd like to position it. Right? But I may well do.
Oh,
really? when I shuffle out of this studio and leave you all on your own, we can bring Natalie back with you.
Oh, I see. Okay. In the meantime, when you leave here today, you do so much work in the media. You've got Talk Boxing to do.
Well, I like my boxing.
Who's on today with you?
Philip Hergovich is coming on. Duke
Hergovich?
Yes. Duke McKenzie is on with us.
Good.
Paul Smith is obviously on with us. And Spencer's there, so it's great. And Frank's coming on as well.
Excellent. Oh, Frank Warren.
Indeed.
Tell him I say hi.
I will.
It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. We're live in talkSPORT. Check out this. We're live in talkSPORT. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com.
Of course he's got to start performing, but he's been injured. So we've got no reference point. We've got nothing to really say about what he did at Liverpool because he had no real run in the team. And if Liverpool aren't going to play in a way that suits the player that they've bought, which is get the ball to him, then I'm not entirely sure what you're supposed to do. What's he supposed to do? Put the ball up on the edge of his 18-yard box and run the length of the pitch, and someone's going to be happy with that? You're not Heung-min Son, is he? He's a centre forward. And so with due respect to it, I look at it and say, yeah, is he? The question for me is, big players would have embraced that opportunity yesterday and gone back to Newcastle and wanted to prove a point. So is he a big game player? Is he a big club player?
I think we saw that. We saw that in Newcastle.
Should he not have demanded the ball
What big games has he been at Newcastle?
Well,
big club?
Okay, I take you back to the semi-final Arsenal League Cup. You can say, look, it's the first thing they've won in 52 years or whatever it was at the time. And Isak was, he was at boiling point. He was ruthless.
When you play for Liverpool, you're expected to win. You're expected to be a top player. When you're at Newcastle, people anticipate and hope and will you to be such. And they expect their club to do it. When you haven't won anything for 70 years, it's a different feeling. Than
You're
when
now
you go
contradicting yourself because you said, look, we need to give him time. We need to be patient. And I'm convinced that he will be a success.
I'm throwing all arguments into the equation. I'm throwing all parts of it because it's multifaceted. It's not one or the other. It's not a case of judging on one performance, but also if you're a big player, a really top player, you've played with them. You know what they look like. You know what they.
How's that? Next March, the England cricket team face Australia in the 150th anniversary Test match down under. And as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to talkSPORT and Visit Victoria, you could be too. Enter now at talksportwin.com for the chance to score an incredible week-long trip for two to watch the 150th anniversary Test match in Melbourne with Visit Victoria and the Barmy Army. Enter now at talksportwin.com and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com.
So before we go today, let's pick out who's been the real deal this week with Selco Builders Warehouse. You've actually been the real deal today, I have to say, in all honesty. Yeah, you know, you've
said all that time I've been spending with a proper presenter in Piers Morgan.
It's kind of deja vu all over again. Forest Leeds, they met at the weekend, and the new man in charge of Forest, Mr. Glasner, didn't get the result that he wanted because Leeds left with all 3 points. They play again in the Carabao Cup tonight, the EFL Cup, and it's live in talkSPORT too. So maybe Glasner will get his own back when it comes to the result. But the thing is this, having set the bar so high from his time at Palace, how much change should we expect Glasner to bring in his first season? Certainly, he did say at the weekend, and this was him saying it, look, there's not going to be an instant transformation.
I really liked our mindset. I liked the effort of every single one. I think everybody felt, especially in the second half, hey, this Nottingham Forest side want to win now, and that's what we tried. And then this makes it a little bit easier to accept the defeat, because for me the worst thing is if you don't try. And today everybody tried, gave his best. Then I know we will improve definitely, because we will work hard, we will train. The players are great players, great characters, and then the structure, the way we're playing, we're getting better and better, and then we will win games.
Interesting language, you see. A football manager allowed to say that they tried, as if that's some sort of bonus. If a journalist or a former player said, "Did you try?" it would be greeted with absolute disdain. He uses the language himself as if we should all be grateful for the Nottingham Forest players trying. That's the bare minimum they should do on the first game of the season at home against a rival like Leeds.
But you see, I like Oliver Glasner because he says it as it is, though, Simon.
He doesn't. He doesn't. What he said at the time of Palace was absurd. He behaved like a child and it damaged him. And that's why he's managing Nottingham Forest and not a top 6 club.
That he felt abandoned.
It's a lot of old crap, isn't it? I mean, he'd already decided he wanted to leave, so what does he expect? That everyone to be throwing hundreds of millions of pounds of players at him during the time when he's decided he's leaving? Look, he could have been supported better. He knew what club he joined. He knew the constraints of the football club. Get on with it. It gave you a gateway into the Premier League. Stop whining. So now he's at Nottingham Forest. He'll be fine. But the problem he's got is he's got the fella up top. And he's got to manage him, because you don't know what his reactions are going to be. You don't know what his expectations are going to be. Now, I would assume that Oliver Glasner, who's an extremely bright man, would have detailed to Marinakis when he comes in, as much as you can tell anything to that man, that this is come on now, you're going to have to give me some latitude to build a team.
Yeah.
It isn't going to happen overnight, so don't start being on my back if we have a slow start to the season. I'm not aiming for that. So I'm assuming he's built some insulation into that situation, but his bigger problem is not, he will build a team. Glasner will build a successful team. How successful Nottingham Forest can be will be determined by how much money they're able to invest. But he will get a side that's capable of winning something, whether it's a League Cup or a European competition, if they're still in ones. I don't think they are they anymore?
But I think you're right, though, because Oliver Glasner then addressed the written media. So he's spoken to the broadcast media, and you heard that moments ago when he spoke to talkSPORT, to the written media, and he's right here, and this is what you mean about buying himself a bit of time with Marinakis. There is no button to press. We have a lot to do. I could see a lot of encouraging things, but it's a process. I can't lay my hands on people's shoulders and all of a sudden we play like Real Madrid. But I could see a team working very hard. Now, that's as good as he could say at that particular time off the back of a day one home defeat.
No. Don't get into the straw man argument and false equivalencies, because no one asked you to play like Real Madrid, because you haven't got the budget of Real Madrid. Don't get away from the basic premise of you've got to make things better and make them better quickly. Anyone can make things worse. Anyone can maintain the status quo. That's not what he's been brought in to do. He's been brought in to improve it, and he's been brought in to improve it in a quicker space of time as possible. That's why you get good managers in. So don't get into the territory of giving yourself an insulation. Your job is to make it better and make it better fast.
How much time? Fast. How much time has he got to do that?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know Marinakis, but what I have seen from Marinakis is that he doesn't tolerate falls. And what he thinks is a fall is someone that doesn't deliver him outcomes in a reasonable, timely fashion. He was tolerant of Steve Cooper, but he deserved tolerant Steve Cooper, because he'd got them out of the mire of the wasteland of the EFL.
Yeah, but thereafter, in 1 year, Nuno, Ange Postecoglou, Sean Dyche and Vitor Pereira.
Yeah, but look, Vitor Pereira's job was to keep him in the Premier League. Ange Postecoglou's job was based upon a reputational thing that he thought was a style of football when he got found out. And I don't know what happened to Sean Dyche. The players got him out. That, to me, is not great. You know, the players wander up to the chairman's office and start peeing and whining about the manager. Sean was in it. He knows who the players were. Because one of them's got transferred to Man City. He knows all that, right? And that's, if you want to run a football club that allows you to do that, that's up to you. It won't serve you well in the longer game. You've got to recognise the value of players, but there is a space for players which is beneath that of the manager.
You like Oliver Glasner, don't you?
I didn't like his conduct last year, but
I know you've said that, but you like him as a dude who's got a top job in the game.
Well, I like him insofar as he did a good job for the club that I used to own.
Yeah.
So I look at it from that point of view and think he's a very capable operator. He came with a reputation of being temperamental. He proved it. But his achievements during that period of time were remarkable for Crystal Palace. He won them. They had real opportunities, and he was sold short. But he knew he was going to be sold short. So don't cry. You were brought into a football club that doesn't have much money. You knew that. So why are you suddenly expecting it to spend like Chelsea when you know it can't?
So he set the bar high in his time at Palace.
He did.
Now in his time at Forest, how much change should we expect him to bring?
Significant change, because that's what he's been brought into for.
In what kind of space of time?
Well, reasonable space of time. I can't answer that, because only Marinakis can define what's reasonable. The fans will want to see a team that's winning. Now, are we talking about style of play? Are we talking their counter-attacking side? So are they going to change their style of play and become a possession-based side? I don't think so. They don't have the personnel to do it. So with that in mind, it's going to take them a period of time. But as long as you can see orderly progress and start moving upwards again, Forest were in an upward trajectory, and they arrested it for a variety of reasons. They had a wonderful season under Nuno Espirito Santo, remarkable season. Their ability to operate at the highest level from shot conversion. I talked about Chris Wood earlier on. They couldn't sustain it. Their players were running at 100% week in, week out. No football club can run that way. Everything they hit went into the goal. Every cross they put in the box produced a meaningful chance. That was always going to come to an end because players were playing at their absolute optimum. So they needed some help and support. And then the manager fell out with the owner because the owner was looking for a more attacking brand of football. He's learned his lesson there. Glasner will be a solution to a certain level of attainment.
Will he be the real deal at Forest?
It can't be, Jim. What is the real deal? Nottingham Forest want to dominate European football. He wants to win a Premier League. The fellow wants to be the best club in English football. He wants to do what he did in the 70s. He said it himself.
Yeah.
So they can't do that. So Glasner will not be the ultimate answer, and Glasner will be another casualty of a circumstance that doesn't allow managers or clubs to build.
Oliver, as you drive around this lunchtime, I bet you're delighted to hear that.
But his reputation will be enhanced because he'll do a good job at Forest. He'll get them better. It might not be to the ultimate aim that the owner thinks his club should achieve, and his reputation will be built. And maybe, if he does a really good job, what will happen is Nottingham Forest will be a stepping stone for him.
Okay, Forest going against Leeds tonight. You go and do top boxing with your chums in the boxing world. That was our pick for this week's Real Deal with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com. We're back tomorrow at 10.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's Real Deals at selcobw.com.
I've got a league table in front of me. Guess who's bottom?
Who's bottom? Who's bottom?
Your mob. You're bottom. Bottom of the table, Jay. Jay, do you know what, mate? I offered you 10th the other day.
Look, mate.
You going down?
Mate, please, come on.
What do you mean, come on? You're bottom of the table. You're bottom. I mean, you love flirting with the bottom of the table. You've started the season bottom of the table. You could go down, Jay, again.